I immediately go to YouTube. I immediately look at that person's highlights.
Everything.
I immediately go find a podcast talking about it in real time, then look up what they did in college. And that consumes the rest of my night.
I mean, that's what you should do.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim. We have a ton to get into today, but we will start with our giveaways, which are terrific. We have SDFC pairs, not one pair, but two pairs of SDFC tickets for tomorrow at 4:30, which would be perfect for families, by the way, at Snapdragon Stadium. So here's what you're going to need to do. You will hear a sounder. Do we have the sounder, Brent? This is not when you call, but this is what the sounder is going to sound like.
Golazo! G-O-L-A-Z-O! Goal! Tommy Uncle!
Love that. The next time you hear that, which will happen at some point this hour, you need to call 877-767-4760. Brent will clear the lines for 1 minute because of the app. You call 877-767-4760. Caller 10, you are going to see SDFC tomorrow. We'll do the same thing in the 3 o'clock hour. So two pairs, Jim, of tickets for tomorrow. SDFC Salt Lake, 4:30 start. You can hear it on San Diego Sports 760. Listen for that sounder this hour and next.
I thought we had only one pair. Guess what?
Wrong.
We were wrong. We have two pairs. So, yeah, as you said, we're giving away one pair this hour, another pair next hour. You have to be listening for the sounder. Be caller 10 when you hear that sounder, and then you will win SDFC tickets. So you're going to have to be listening for basically the entire show here if you want tickets.
If you're on the app, we're clearing the lines for 1 full minute. If you're on YouTube, you can call in. If you're listening on 760, 877-767-4760. Neil Solondz is the radio voice of the Rays. They are in town. He'll join us at 2:30. Mark Ziegler will join us at 4. We have learned within the last hour that Magoon Gwath has had knee surgery, the extent of which isn't fully known. There are some quotes from Brian Dutcher saying he will be ready by the start of the season, but Magoon Gwath, coming off a hyperextended knee, has had surgery. Mark Ziegler with the latest at 4 p.m. Friend of the show, Annie Halbern, at 5. Now, we typically have Kevin Acee, Jim. Has anyone noticed that we don't have Kevin today? We have Neil Solondz, we have Mark Ziegler, we have Annie Halbern. Did you notice?
I noticed that.
I noticed it too. Brent, did you notice? Marshall noticed.
Everybody noticed.
He can't talk. I texted him at 8 a.m. He said, I have no voice. I've taken your advice. I'm drinking tea. I have no voice.
With honey?
I said, yes. And I said, sometimes it gets better before it gets, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. And it's true. He said he's just not talking. He's working on some projects. He'll be available to us Monday, hopefully.
All right.
Based on his laryngitis. Let's start with the Padres. We'll get into Magoon Gwath. The Padres, did you mention in your update? I didn't listen.
I didn't listen either.
Okay, so who knows if you mentioned it. The latest, according to AJ Preller today, is that Jackson Merrill will not return this homestand. There was already an expectation from Kevin he wouldn't return this series against Tampa Bay. We were holding out hope for the Giants. That starts Tuesday.
Yep.
According to AJ Preller, Jackson Merrill will miss this homestand. I don't know what that means for the next road trip either.
I don't know either. I'm sure that with the Padres being at home for the next 5 games the next week, we're going to get updates from Jackson Merrill. We're going to see the tweets of Jackson Merrill out in the center field, running around or training.
He moved laterally.
He
went at 62% from first to third.
And then when he gets to 75%, that's when you know it's going to be
his swings have been with veracity.
But we'll see Jackson Merrill rehabbing in some fashion this homestand. Look, this is now a month injury when we thought it was a week.
No, we thought it might have been a day.
You're right.
We thought it was a day. The first day in Sacramento was the initial thought.
And then when he got put on the IL, we thought, all right, next Friday.
We said 10 days then.
And now it's almost going to be 30 days. Probably will be close to that because him returning at the start of the next road trip
is Friday, May 2nd in Pittsburgh to begin a 9-game road trip.
Yeah, if he's not going to return this homestand, I think maybe towards the middle of the road trip.
Maybe. Or maybe for Pittsburgh. But if he misses these next 5, Jim, he's missed 20 games. His max for the year will be in that 140 range, which is fine. But again, we talked about like putting up that 30 home run, 100 RBI season. That'll be hard, and that's okay. That's not the end all goal of the Padres. It's just when you miss 4 weeks, are you the same player you were? Do you need a rehab? I'm with you. I don't think they will, but he'll need some sim games in there. And is he going to look like the exact same player the day he steps back in the field in Pittsburgh or wherever it is?
It's just frustrating because you thought that it wasn't going to be a long-term injury, and we know hamstrings are tricky. So again, it's our bad for thinking it wasn't going to be that long, but it's turned into a month-long injury. He played 10 games this year, 10 games.
Contract.
And he got his contract. And then he goes boom, right on the IL with the hammy, and it's turned into what's going to be likely a month-long injury, maybe longer.
Potentially longer. Now, the other updates are, and they're not as significant, but the truth is all the pieces matter. Okay, you have a backup outfielder out in Brandon Lockridge. He's not coming back this homestand. So they've been cautious with the hamstring bros. Luis Ariz could return for the Giants series, Jim. We'll find out. He could. He's eligible to come off. He's got the extra day because Monday is an off day. And we already knew Jake Cronenworth was out. The expectation now is mid-May.
Right.
We'll see if that's actually mid-May. But the real story here is a one-day tight hamstring has turned into a 1-month injury for Jackson Merrill that has clearly hampered the Padres. If you watch this most recent road trip, they need Jackson Merrill. They will not be 17-8 in their next 25 games, 17-8, if they didn't have Merrill for the next 25 games. Quote me on it. They will not go 17-8 in their next 25 games without Jackson Merrill in their next 25 games. It'll be hard enough to go 17-8.
Yeah, the downgrade from Merrill on this team is pretty significant.
Tyler Wade's in center field.
Yeah, it's not going to cut it. It's just not.
Right.
Jackson Merrill brings so much to this team, more than just what shows up in a box score. And he started this year as their 3-hitter, 4-hitter, right? Cleanup behind Manny.
That's right.
So you lost your cleanup hitter. He was your best hitter at the time when he went out. 3 home runs in 10 games. That's really good.
Big number.
That's a huge number. 10 RBI, hit a 1,200 OPS.
Huge numbers.
Hitting well over 300. Playing great defense in center field. Team was 8-2. Fantastic. And you're right. A potentially one-day injury turned into a month. And this is why hamstrings are always so tricky. And they can just be so fickle where it just doesn't, respond the right way or whatever. But their messaging of Jackson Merrill's injury does not match up with the timeline of how long he's missed by.
I agree with that.
Like, not even close.
I completely agree with that. And the one reason I'm a little bit like cautious / concerned is that in the minor leagues, here it is. I just pulled it up. As a 19-year-old, he pulled a hamstring in 2022. Let me see. The word hamstring is 3 times on this page. He went on the IL with a hamstring injury and a fractured left wrist. He missed 3 months. Yeah, he missed 3 months.
Fractured left wrist
would
I know, take you out for a long time.
But how about this? His career injury report, April 29th to July 31st, 2022, hamstring and wrist. 2023, later in the year, a hamstring strain hobbled him during his time in AA San Antonio. The injury kept him away from the field in the Texas League playoffs. This is the 3rd time in 4 years Jackson Merrill has been sidelined because of a hamstring. Like, has anyone done that deep dive? I did.
Just did in 2 seconds, yeah.
He missed time with a hamstring in 2022. He missed the playoffs in 2023. He's out for a month in 2025. Not concerning? I'm concerned.
I'm very concerned because I don't want this to be a nagging injury. And maybe that's why they're being extra precautionary here.
Yes.
But at the same time, how bad was this hammy? He finished the game on Sunday. As Sunday, the day that he hurt it in Chicago.
After he was stretching out his hamstring.
And he finished that game, and then he didn't play the next day. And then the following day, he's on the IL.
Right.
Like, how bad is this hamstring? We'll never know. But it's a month-long hamstring. It's not just a tight hammy. Like,
it's a recurring injury.
Yeah.
And I also, to your point, wonder, like, is he going to run the way he ran before the injury? Like you said, he's not a guy that can play at like 85%.
No.
As a center fielder, you can't do that defensively. As a guy that just plays with as much like intensity as he plays with, he's not going to be known as like a 50 base stealer, but he's got speed, right? Like, his speed is a true tool of Merrill's, right? That's one of his 5 good tools. Like, he absolutely is able to use his speed to his advantage, but not if he's going to miss time because of a hamstring continually. So it's a real concern for me. Not because they're 17-8, but because he's dealt with it, and because this is going to end up being a month-long injury. Jim, it might be longer.
You're right. I was about to say that. It might be longer than a month. It might be a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? You got the homestand here, and then you have the off day on Thursday. You have 3 off days the next
Amazing.
week.
Well, yesterday plus 2 more.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the 4-man rotation here coming up in a bit. But then you go on a 9-game roadie through Pittsburgh, New York, and Colorado. If he does not return on that road trip, then my concern goes up even more.
Way more. At that point, you're rehabbing. At that point, you're concerned. I don't even know what a bad hamstring is. I think it's just rest and recovery. Right? I don't think it's anything beyond that. I'm sure there's sprains and strains and grades to it, Jim. And there was another player, because Kevin maybe wrote about it or someone. There was a player that was out in spring training, not with the Padres, that was still out because of a hamstring. Like, they can really linger. Mm-hmm. They can be beyond weeks. They can turn into months, to your point. And hopefully that's not the case here with Merrill. But I think sometimes this is something that's beyond 2 to 4 weeks. I think it can be 6 to 8 weeks, right? For again, without being an athletic trainer
or a doctor,
right?
I just have the internet. But if you're talking about like a grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3 hamstring strain, this kind of probably, just because of how long he's been out, would be more towards a grade 2 hamstring strain than a grade 1.
So grade 1, you're saying, would have been like week to week,
probably.
And then
about
grade 2 is like 2 to 4, and then there's like even worse than that.
And grade 3, it would be longer than that, and you're dealing with like tears, and because when you strain a hamstring, when you pull a hammy, like it's like it does tear the muscle. It depends on the grade of the tear. So grade 1 isn't that bad. Grade 2, medium. Grade 3, you got some problems here. Right. So with the length of time that he has been out, this would lead me to believe that this is more towards a grade 2 hamstring strain than anything else. If he returns on the next road trip.
Otherwise, it's worse than that.
Then it's worse than that.
It feels like it's worse than that. We'll hear from Mike Shield at some point this afternoon. He will address the media. Padres and Rays coming up at 6:40. Be listening for that sounder when you hear it. Call 877-767-4760 for a chance to win SDFC tickets for tomorrow. Neil Solondz is the voice of the Rays. They've gotten off to a slow start. They're in town this weekend. He'll join us coming up at 2:30. And again, an update on the Padres rotation on the other side, plus Magoon Gwath. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim. All right, San Diego FC back on the pitch tomorrow. Salt Lake, Snapdragon Stadium. You can hear the match tomorrow, 4 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Your home for SDFC. When you hear that sounder, call 877-767-4760. It's a goal sounder, not the promo you just heard, but a goal sounder from Adrian Garcia Marquez. Neil Solondz, the radio voice of the Tampa Bay Rays. Friend of the show, kind of. Friend of mine. He will join us coming up at 2:30. So kind of under the radar, Jim, yesterday, the Padres on their transactions page list Kyle Hart as being optioned to AAA. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Their starter, Kyle Hart, who was coming off a pretty good outing, lined just 2 runs in that, I think that shutout loss, their only shutout loss this year, was optioned. You're left to think, well, why was Kyle Hart optioned? And the reason is as simple as off days. The next time they need a 5th starter is May 6th at Yankee Stadium. So that's still about 10 plus days away. That's the next time they need a 5th starter. So they're going to add to their bullpen. Ryan Berger, you mentioned it in the update, will make his major league debut, presumably at some point on this upcoming homestand. And Kyle Hart was optioned down because there's just no need for a 5th starter over the next 2 turns through the rotation.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
I'm a little surprised they're doing it because they are a team that early on in the season don't want to like stretch anybody out, but you're not really stretching anybody out here. You're just putting everybody on regular rest because of the off days. And you're just adding another piece to the bullpen. And I like it from the standpoint of you're going to keep, the main guys on regular rest, and you're theoretically having King, Cease, and Pivetta, pitch more.
Yeah, I think that is right because of the off days. Yeah.
So because of that, I like it. I am a little surprised that they're doing it, but at the same time, I understand why they're doing it, and it makes sense, and I like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do like it. I just think it's savvy, and you basically need to do these things over 162 because it's actually probably best for your bullpen. You weren't going to pitch Kyle Hart out of your bullpen. Why? You want him to remain stretched out. How do you remain stretched out if you're not pitching because of the off days? We have to go to AAA. He's going to have to throw 75 plus pitches or 90 plus pitches a couple of times in AAA. So, yeah, I mean, the numbers aren't good. 6 ERA in 21 innings, but someone had to go down in this hypothetical. And it's not going to be Randy Vasquez, who's probably pitched better than Kyle Hart, even with that poor start his last time out. But now we get, to your point, more of King, more of Cease, more of Pivetta, and I guess maybe more of Randy Vasquez as well. I'm all for it. I don't know what role Berger's going to play or how beneficial that's going to be to their bullpen, but if you're not going to pitch Kyle Hart and you want to keep him stretched out, why would you keep him on the 26-man roster? It has to be the thinking.
Yeah, it makes sense from that standpoint. Again, the only thing that I'm surprised with is that like they're doing it because they're not a team that is okay with going to a 4-man. I remember like they had an opportunity last year, I remember, to do this, and they didn't do it.
Yep.
But this time they're doing it. It's okay, cool. I mean, it's fine. If you get Pivetta, King, and Cease to have another extra start in there instead of, having an extra day of rest, but they're also on regular rest, like I'm totally fine with that.
Me too. So he could, so the next 5th starter is May 6th at Yankee Stadium, but Hart can't return without an injury until May 9th because he's got to stay down for 15 days. So what does that mean? It means they could use someone that's currently on the roster for a spot start at Yankee Stadium, or they could just call up Stephen Kolek and make another move. So you have to consider that as well. Hart, potentially, maybe Hart gets his spot back in the rotation in the middle of May. Maybe he doesn't because maybe it's taken. Maybe they use more bullpen days. Maybe Stephen Kolek is the next one up that's in AAA. I'd be surprised, to your point, if Hart lost his job off 4 starts. Has it been 4 starts or has it been 5? It's been 5. But I'd be surprised if he lost his role in the rotation that quickly. For a guy coming over from the KBO, there was always going to be, you'd think, maybe some type of an adjustment.
Yeah, he's pitched fine.
He's been fine.
Yeah. Nothing like special, but he's not been horrific. He's had some bad starts for sure.
Yep.
But he's had some pretty decent starts. In particular, the start here at Petco against the Rockies that Saturday night. And then his last start in Detroit wasn't deemed a bad start. Just had no run support. And he actually pitched out of some really tough jams.
Yes, he did. That's right.
And so overall, I think he's definitely earned that fifth starter spot with how he's pitched. And so when the time comes again, I do think he'll be put back in the rotation. So I don't think after his last start in Detroit, you're like, yeah, I've seen enough. This guy's not good enough to be our fifth starter. Like, actually, he is. They just don't want to, have him be pitching here when you have opportunities to pitch better players in his spot when those guys will be on regular rest anyway.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about who starts May 6th for the Padres at Yankee Stadium. If it's Kyle Hart,
You're not?
so be it.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's eligible to make that start since he's been sent down. If it's Stephen Kolek, so be it. If it's just a bullpen day and they throw Wandy Peralta out there for the first inning of again, it's 1 of 162. So that to me isn't overly concerning. And I think the math behind it is we need relievers, not starters, over the next 2 weeks because of all these off days. We talked a lot this offseason and to start the year about all the off days for the Padres. They so rarely play even 6 consecutive days right now. I don't think they play 7 consecutive days the first 2 months of the year because they're off every Thursday for the first 7 or 8 weeks. When's the first time they play 7 consecutive days or excuse me, 8 consecutive days? It's not until May or June.
It would be the end of May. They play from May 30th until June 11th.
So that's that used to happen every 2 weeks.
Now, from May 20th to May 28th, they do play a full week plus another day there.
Okay.
Because that's the first Thursday game that they will play all year other than the home opener, which is against Toronto on the road. But after that, then, Pittsburgh on the road, and then they don't have another off day until June 12th.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Neil Solondz, voice of the Tampa Bay Rays, is going to join us on the other side. The Padres lineup is out, by the way. We'll share that with you coming up. Plus, be listening for that sounder when you hear it. Call 877-767-4760 for a chance to win a pair of tickets to see SDFC tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. This is Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Caltrans, cleancalifornia.com. We'll start with Aztecs news. Mark Ziegler, who's going to join us at 4 p.m. later this afternoon, is reporting that Magoon Gwath, he has had knee surgery. He'll be out for a few months. We'll talk to Mark Ziegler at 4 p.m. more about that. Padres, they take on the Tampa Bay Rays starting tonight for a 3-game series, 6:40 first pitch. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. NFL draft gets underway in about an hour and a half from now. Cam Ward got drafted number 1 overall yesterday by the Titans. Shedeur Sanders did not get drafted in the first round. And NBA postseason action happening later this afternoon. Magic Celtics game 3 in Orlando, 4 p.m. tip time. Bucks Pacers game 3 tips off at 5 p.m. And then Timberwolves Lakers 6:30 tip time in Minnesota. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Imagine a photograph of your favorite place in California, then right in the middle of it, one piece of litter. Litter has no place in our lives, not one piece. Together, let's change that. Clean California, zero litter is the goal. CleanCA.com.
All right, so be listening for that sounder for a chance to win San Diego FC tickets. That match tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. Tonight, game 1, Padres Rays. Great to have Neil Solondz back with us, Rays radio broadcaster, back with us on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. The series will get underway at 6:40 tonight. So, Neil, always great to touch base. And just looking at some of these numbers, offensively, it looks like the Rays have been decent, top 10 in a number of categories. From a pitching perspective, it looks like their ERA, has been among the top 10 in baseball as well. What's the overall story? They were 9-14. I know they won the last 2 in Arizona. What's been the story or theme here with the 11-14 start?
I would say very up and down to this point. They've had to battle their fair share of injuries, just like the Padres, and there have been a fair share of games where if things went a little bit better in one moment or another, or there's a little more luck on balls in play, the record might be flipped instead of being 11-14. They're 3-6 in 1-run games so far. And, I think that's probably the big difference between being under 500 and being over 500. And sometimes it's a big moment here or there. The last 2 days they had them in Arizona and won back-to-back extra inning games. And prior to that, they were struggling in those moments.
Tonight's starter, Shane Baz. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Baz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shane Baz. He has some really good stuff. Well, what can you tell us about him tonight? I mean, he one of his starts a couple starts ago, 11 strikeouts, no walks against the Red Sox. So what can we expect tonight from Shane Baz?
It's a good question. He's coming off really his first tough start of the season against the Yankees, where the walks were an issue, and obviously tonight he's facing a Padres team that is not like New York, where they're going to walk a ton, but they also don't strike out. They'll get the fewest strikeouts in baseball, so you're going to have to make quality pitches. What has been really impressive about him this year is the improvement of a couple of his pitches, specifically his curveball, which he's leaning on more and getting more swing and miss, and his changeup, which I think has elevated him against left-handed hitters especially. So, hopefully he continues to take positive steps. This is really his first full season in the majors. He's been in the big leagues for parts of several seasons, but, he had Tommy John surgery and then worked his way back, and he got off to, they curtailed his innings last year coming off surgery. And this year, hopefully he's full go and can make it through 30 starts. And if he does, he's got a chance to be really good.
Neil Solondz with us right now, Rays radio broadcaster. Padres Rays tonight at Petco at 6:40, game 1 of 3. For our listeners, Neil, I think I read up on this with the ballpark change, with obviously the Rays playing now in the spring training home of the Yankees, but the home road split in terms of games, right? 19 of the Rays games have been at home. 6 of them have been on the road. That includes this past series in Arizona. For our listeners, can you explain as to why there's been such a disparity early on with home road?
So normally this wouldn't be the case. The Rays did flip-flop one series, and instead of playing the Angels in Anaheim in April and going there and them coming here in August, they flipped that. They also flipped the series against the Twins that's coming up a little bit later on this spring. And the reason for that is due to Hurricane Milton. Many of your fans know that the Tropicana Field lost its roof, and Steinbrenner Field, the spring training home of the Yankees, became the 2025 home for this group. So the home schedule was more front loaded because of the weather in Florida, something you guys don't have to worry about in San Diego on a regular basis. So there was not a single rain delay in any of those 19 games, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I hope that's the case all the way through May. But, chances are once you get to the rainy part of the schedule, you're dodging the weather. So more home games early, more road games late. And it was nice to see this group win a road series against what I think is a pretty good club in Arizona, because I think this team is going to have to become a pretty good road team to get where they want to go this year.
And as far as the Rays, stadium issues go, being reported today that the city of Orlando's one step closer to bringing baseball back to Tampa. $1.5 billion in funding has been pledged to attract the MLB to build a new ballpark. As far as the ballpark, I guess, saga goes there, any update that you've heard about that?
I know probably as much as you guys do in terms of what I read. I stay very, very focused on day to day and worrying about this club and this year. And, they have told us that the city is responsible for fixing the stadium, and everyone has said that they're on schedule to return to Tropicana Field at the start of 2026. Obviously, Mother Nature can impact that as well. And I'm hoping it's a really quiet hurricane season within the Tampa Bay area specifically. But the expectation is to be back in Tropicana Field for 26, 27, and 28. And then, when I'll probably know more, just as you guys know more about the rest of it.
The 25-year saga or so, it seems, involving the Tampa Bay Rays and their stadium situation. We're with Neil Solondz. Of course, Tampa's been able to win on field for a good portion of the last couple of decades. What do you make of the Padres here? Like you said, dealing with injuries, but 17-8 overall.
Well, the big thing that stands out, and I'm at their ballpark right now, is their home record and why they've won at home. They're 12-1, and they've allowed 19 runs total in 13 home games. It's hard to lose when you give up a run and a half a game. You don't need a ton of offense. That certainly stands out, especially how good their bullpen has been. And obviously one of those key pieces very familiar with in Jason Adam, who was traded right at the deadline last year and is a super guy. And I knew he would fit in very, very, very well in that clubhouse, and he's performed. And then the other thing that stands out probably among the offensive players is the kind of MVP type start that Fernando Tatis is off to. I think we all know how talented he is. And the fact that, he's performing, I think probably offsets some of the losses right now of being without Jackson Merrill and Jake Cronenworth. The Rays have gone through, I think we've got 9 guys on the injured list right now. So I guess both teams are kind of feel it in terms of some early season pain and injuries. And, you got to work through it because it's part of the deal.
When it comes to runners in scoring position, Tampa Bay Rays have been really good this year. What's that? As far as, being good with runners in scoring position, what's been the success for Tampa there?
Well, last year they were at the bottom of baseball, and they hit just over 210. And this year they're in the 280s. And I think part of that is somewhat of a law of averages. It's something that is very hard for teams to control, but I think the Rays did as much as they could to try and make it an emphasis in spring training. Even when they basically created at bats for guys and said, you're spring training at bat here, you're coming up with a man at second, nobody out, and you got to move the runner. Or you're coming up man at third and less than 2 out, and you've got to score the runner. And we don't care what the result is in terms of whether you get a hit in this spring training at bat, but we want you to have your approach be to get that runner home. And we'll let, based on the quality of contact and all those things, we'll say whether this is indeed, a quality at bat. And I think so they worked on it. And I think if you look at their strikeouts, aside from last night when they faced Corbin Burns and he was really, really nasty, they've been really good. It's they're in the bottom 10 in baseball in terms of total strikeouts. So they're putting the ball in play. And I think when you put the ball in play and your approach is really decent, I think you have a better chance of bringing runners home. And that's why they've been better with men in scoring position so far this year.
When it's all said and done, it'll be interesting. Like, is the NL West the best division in baseball? Is it the American League East, obviously, with the Yankees and the Red Sox? I know the Orioles haven't played great, but the expectations there. What are the expectations in Tampa? Is this a team that can hang around for a wild card spot? Is that the expectation or not?
I think all 5 teams are capable of winning the division. They were separated by 4.5 games right now.
Yeah.
We're 20 some games into the season. I think they're all they're all capable, and a lot will hinge on injuries. Like, the Yankees took 3 out of 4 in Tampa against the Rays, but they also had one start of 4 innings and one of an inning and 2/3. And there are going to be points in the season where you really, I would think, would start to really feel the effects of a Garrett Cole loss for the year. And Luis Gil, whether he comes back and how well he comes back, is going to be a big question mark. So I think all of the teams in this division have their fair share of question marks. I think it's probably that, I love the West because of the 4 teams that are involved, but you also have a Colorado team that's 4-20.
Right.
I think that there's not a team that's going to lose 100 plus games in this division, or if they do, I'd be really, really surprised. I think in terms of depth, I think the East is the deepest division. The 4 at the top of the National League, you may look at, those teams and may say they're stronger, than the teams in the AL East. But I think the teams in this division are quite balanced. And I think it's going to take at least, 60, 70 games to really have a feel for who's in control of the division at that point in time.
I am now willing to project, Neil, that Colorado will not win the NL West in 2025. I don't need all the precincts. I don't need anything. I just know they're not winning the NL West.
Lock it in.
Neil, always appreciate.
The only thing I would be able to project is whether they do or don't catch the White Sox from last year. I mean, that's honestly in question right now in terms of.
It's a fascinating race to watch.
To your point, because they're going to play. Well, what's the math on that? I mean, in the division, it's not like it used to be, but 13 times 4. I mean, they're going to play 50 something games against these teams. Back in the day, they're playing 60 or 70 something games. It would be even more challenging to get to like 50 wins. Neil, appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend in San Diego. Always great catching up. Thanks for doing it.
You got it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. Neil Solondz, radio voice of the Tampa Bay Rays. The Magoon Gwath news that we got earlier in the week, there's more news to report here today. And if you missed it, we'll share that with you on the other side. Plus, Mark Ziegler with the latest on San Diego State men's basketball and Magoon Gwath coming up at 4 p.m. Plus, we're an hour out from the NFL draft getting back underway. Plus, you're listening for a sounder right now. When you hear that goal sounder, call 877-767-4760. for a chance to win 2 free tickets to see SDFC in Salt Lake tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. This is Jon and Jim.
Golazo! G-O-L-A-Z-O! Goal! Tommy Uncle!
Jon and Jim. So we just gave away our first pair of SDFC tickets for tomorrow at Snapdragon. Brent, do we know who the winner was of those SDFC tickets for tomorrow? The first pair, Brent's going to share the first name of the winner. And then we have another pair. Who's that?
Marcos.
Marcos, congratulations. You're going to see SDFC tomorrow with someone else. Now, if you didn't win, be listening between now and 4 p.m. We're giving away another pair. You get a pair, you get a pair, you get a pair. All right? All pairs must go.
And you get a pair.
Correct. So when you hear the goal sounder, the goal call from Adrian Garcia Marquez, all you need to do is call 877-767-4760. We clear our phone lines for a minute, which means if you're listening on the app and a minute behind, you can still win. And caller 10 is going to see SDFC tomorrow. So be listening for that. Before we get into Magoon Gwath, can we share the Padres lineup today that does not include, again, the Merrills and the Arises of the world? Have you seen that lineup, Jim?
I have not actually seen the lineup, John.
Do you want me to share it or do you want to share it? You can share it. It's hard. It's easy to find. Just
I know.
There it
I
is.
found it. Oh,
Just
there we go.
Twitter.
Okay, here we go. Fernando Tatis Jr. leading off.
What?
Xander Bogaerts hitting second.
I like it.
Manny Machado hitting third. Xander Sheets.
Oh, Xander Sheets has had such a big year. What I really like about Xander Sheets
Oh my God, here we go.
is how he doesn't have any RBIs or home run. Maybe he does. He has half.
Gavin Bogaerts has
Had a better year.
Yeah. Gavin
There's the-
Sheets cleaning up tonight at first base. Oscar Gonzalez. What?
What happened to Xander Sheets?
He got DFA.
He got hurt.
Yeah. Oscar Gonzalez is your DH tonight. Jose Iglesias at second. Tirso gets a start in left field. Elias Diaz is behind the plate. And your boy Tyler Wade's in center. Yeah.
Okay, so the bottom of that lineup, again, this is where you feel the impact of not having both Jackson Merrill and Luis Ariz, and for good measure, throw Jake Cronenworth into that conversation as well.
It's interesting that Xander Bogaerts, not Xander Sheets, Xander Bogaerts,
Right.
is now hitting in the 2-hole.
Move him up.
Can't drive in a run if his life depended on it, so they just put him in the 2-hole.
Well, who else is going to go there? Xander Sheets? It's either going to be Xander Bogaerts or Xander Sheets
Right, exactly.
right now. And it looks like they went with Bogaerts today.
Yeah.
Here's my theory on today. What Neil Solondz just told us. The Padres have allowed 19 runs in 13 home games. Hold Tampa to a run or so, you'll be in decent shape with Michael King on the mound.
Could the Padres put up 2 runs?
I would think so at home. I mean, they've been so solid at home. And it's not like even in this last trip where they lost 2 out of 3 or this last series. I mean, they scored 6 runs. They weren't completely anemic on offense. They still have Fernando Tatis Jr.
And Manny Machado.
I'll tell you who needs to get going. And it's not Xander Bogaerts.
Is it Manny Machado?
It is Manny Machado, who was 3 for 23 on the road trip.
And he only has 2 home runs on the year.
Yeah, which we've seen before.
Right. The home runs, they're going to come.
I feel like those will come.
They
In
will.
the summer months, it seems like he goes on the stretches. So I'm not going to panic over that. But Manny, 3 for 23 last week, a 408 on base plus slugging on the road. I mean, he really didn't do anything.
No, he was very quiet. Now, this lineup, didn't think we would get this type of lineup this year with
Right.
Gavin Sheets in the cleanup spot. And then Oscar Gonzalez, Jose Iglesias, Tirso Ornelas, Elias Diaz, Tyler Wade. That is a spring training lineup if you've ever seen a spring training lineup in your life.
Heading into the year, I would have said that. Now, of course, Sheets has performed. Here's some good news this weekend. You're facing 3 right-handed starters.
Right. So that helps theoretically.
Allow Sheets in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I do feel better about their lineup against right-handed pitching. And it's not just because of Gavin Sheets. I think just in general, the numbers have bore that out, whatever the word would be. Bore. I sound like Jim.
You've been working with me too long.
Way too long, dude.
Yeah.
So listen, I would assume that they're going to be pretty comfortable favorites at home tonight. Let me see. They are minus 150.
Okay.
Go win this series, Jim. Go win this series.
Easier said than done.
I know, but they're 12-1 at home.
Correct.
And they're taking on a team that's 11-14 overall.
Right.
That just won a series, though, in Arizona. I'm not asking for the world.
No.
2 out of 3. I'm not asking for the world. But when you got Michael King and Dylan Cease and you're playing in front of 45,000 people and you've been this good at home, I think 2 out of 3 is a reasonable ask.
Now, they are 9-6
Since Jackson Merrill
since
went out.
Jackson Merrill went out. Obviously, Jake Cronenworth, you can throw him in there. Luis Ariz has missed now 3.5 games or basically
Right.
4,
Right.
because he got taken out in the first inning there in Houston. But let's just look at the schedule here and say that Jackson Merrill returns for the Yankees series
Okay.
on May 25th. So does Luis Ariz. Luis Ariz will be back already, hopefully.
Right.
Jake, maybe towards the middle of May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got 3 series here, 8 games. If you went 4-4 in those 8 games, you're 13-10 in the absence of Jackson Merrill.
Is that accurate?
9 plus 4 is 13.
6 plus 4 is 10.
So
Yeah, it is accurate.
So if overall, without Jackson Merrill this year, when he returns, if you let's just say Yankee series on May 5th, all right, and you end up at that point in time, the record without Jackson Merrill is 13-10. Would you take that?
Yes.
Okay.
I would. And again, you'll be fine. If they go 4-4 over their next 8 games, guess what? Maybe Arizona or San Francisco or LA go 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose 2 games to them. That's okay. Like you're jockeying right now, right? We're not down the stretch they come. There's a lot of baseball to be played.
Now, ideally, you want to take 2 or 3 from Tampa at minimum.
Yeah, split against San Francisco.
And then take 2 or 3 at minimum from Pittsburgh.
Right,
and
what would that be?
Then you're 6-3. No,
but it's 8 games.
You're 5-3.
That's a really good result for the next 8 games.
And then you're 14-9 over the absence of Jackson Merrill.
And then you're like, why'd you extend him? You don't even need him.
Don't even need the kid.
I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm not concerned other than for their health. That's basically the point I try to make. I'm not concerned. In fact, I'm encouraged by the Padres other than their health. And I do think it has caught up to them and will continue to catch up to them the longer this goes on. You definitely need this to end sooner rather than later. And you've made this point before too. You might get Merrill back and put someone else on the IL. This is how sports work.
Yep.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, I just don't want to see that revolving door of injuries.
Right.
Like when you get guys back, you want to get them back and then obviously not lose anybody else. And you want to get as close to full strength as you possibly can for a good part of the season, because they're the freaking best team in baseball. Now, small sample size, but still, they were playing amazing in that stretch when they were all fully healthy.
Incredible.
And looking at today's lineup, they need these guys back.
Yeah, we have that confirmed.
Because Jackson Merrill, Luis Ariz, and Jake Cronenworth, slot those 3 guys in the lineup looks much different. Then the bottom of the lineup doesn't look as awful as it does, like it does now, 5 through 9. Now, Jose Iglesias, I do like a lot, but
me too.
But 5 through 9, that's going to be an adventure.
It'll be a complete adventure until it's not.
You have no idea what you're going to get from that.
We have an update on Luis Ariz, and we'll see if he's back when he's eligible to come off the concussion IL or not. We'll share that with you on the other side. Plus, the latest on Magoon Gwath, who, according to Mark Ziegler of the UT, has undergone knee surgery. What does that mean for San Diego State and the upcoming season? We'll catch up with Mark at 4 p.m., but we have an update on Luis Ariz, our thoughts on Magoon Gwath undergoing knee surgery and more. Plus, be listening for that sounder. When you hear the goal call from Adrian Garcia Marquez between now and 4 p.m., call 877-767-4760, and caller 10 is going to get 2 free tickets to see SDFC tomorrow afternoon at Snapdragon Stadium. But hour 2, Jon and Jim, that comes your way next.
All right. This update is brought to you by Caltrans, cleancalifornia.com. We'll start with the Padres. They take on the Tampa Bay Rays tonight for a 3-game series. Starting at 6:40, Michael King will be on the mound for the Padres tonight. Breaking news with the Aztecs today, Magoon Gwath. It's being reported by Mark Ziegler. He has had knee surgery. We'll talk with Mark at 4 p.m. for the latest there. An NBA postseason action. Full slate of games today. Magic Celtics game 3 tips off at 4 p.m. Pacers Bucks tips off at 5 p.m. And then Lakers Timberwolves tips off at 6:30 p.m. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. The NFL Draft round 2 through 3 gets underway later this afternoon. Imagine a photograph of your favorite place in California. Then right in the middle of it, one piece of litter. Litter has no place in our lives. Not one place. Together, let's change that. Clean California. Zero litter is the goal. CleanCA.com.
Previously on Jon and Jim.
You know what happens? And for a lot of fans,
Yeah.
once my team drafts whoever they draft, I immediately go to YouTube. I immediately look at that person's highlights.
Everything.
I immediately go find a podcast talking about it in real time, then look up what they did in college. And that consumes the rest of my night.
I mean, that's what you should do.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. As Jim just told you, Mark Ziegler from the UT will join us coming up at 4 p.m. But this hour is your last chance to win SDFC tickets for tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. Great opportunity to see SDFC. It's an afternoon game. 4:30 should be a perfect day. Mid-60s. SDFC Salt Lake at Snapdragon at 4:30. A match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760. You're going to hear a goal call from their play-by-play voice, Adrian Garcia Marquez. And when you hear it, you're going to call 877-767-4760. We'll clear our phone lines for people listening on the iHeartRadio app. And then the 10th caller that Brent picks up is going to go to see SDFC tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. If you have not been to a match this year at Snapdragon Stadium, John Schaefer, then you got to get to one. And we are giving away a free pair of tickets to get you to one tomorrow night.
Okay. We're acting as if they've played 81 matches at home. They've played 4.
You know, you've done this with me with the Aztecs.
Yes, but I do it after 5 years.
So I'm going to do it. I've been to a bunch of games over a 5-year span.
Maybe. I won't get into the semantics of it, but maybe. I'm going to go. Honestly, Saturday would be a perfect opportunity.
It really would, John.
Maybe I'll talk to Kristen, who's my wife.
Jones would love it. It's not too late at night.
You talk for a second.
It's not too late at night.
But how am I going to get tickets?
So there's a thing called the internet. And then when you go on the internet, you can go to
the flagship
ticket sites. Well, okay. What does that mean?
Well, that means that
you want to get tickets through the station?
Correct.
Good. Give them a chance of flying to the moon.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't want to fly to the moon.
Well, you're not going to. Either you're going to get tickets for SDFC tomorrow for yourself. But luckily, one of our great listeners will be able to go.
Maybe they'll take me.
Maybe they will.
Or maybe they'll take Joan so I can have a few hours we can have a few hours to ourselves.
You can rest.
All right. Yeah, exactly. All right. Annie Halbrin will join the show coming up at 5 p.m. Mark Ziegler at 4. And Annie is in the Padres clubhouse and is reporting the following on Luis Arraez. So this is an exact tweet from Annie. She says, saw Luis Arraez in the clubhouse, said he's quote unquote feeling better and gave his usual smile, said yesterday was tough, but today is better. #Padres. So yesterday was tough. Now he's eligible to come off Tuesday because they don't play Monday. So there's still a little bit of time here. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I do feel like 4 days is a good amount of time in professional sports, but you think he might want to ramp up, like take some BPs or something. Like, do we feel confident based on that he's quote unquote feeling better, but yesterday was tough? Do you feel like he'll be back Tuesday for the Padres or not?
Oh yeah, he's missed another week plus.
That's how you feel based on that?
Yeah, I do. If this team, as we know, is as cautious as they are with injuries, they're not rushing him. If he doesn't feel ready to go, or if he has in the last couple of days, like he did yesterday, feels anything, guess what? They're going to err on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing him say that, now I'd be surprised if he returns on Tuesday.
Yeah, I agree with you. For a couple of reasons. A, you got to feel like yourself before you even entertain getting back out there.
Oh, for sure.
And secondly, you got to be cautious because you're dealing with a head injury.
Yeah.
So because of that, because even if you felt great, I think you still have to be cautious. You're dealing with a head injury in a sport where head contact occurs.
Again, concussions.
Yeah.
Like hamstrings.
It can be right. You're exactly right. There's no exact time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Some hamstrings 1 day, some hamstrings 2 months, apparently, what we've learned from the internet. Some concussions, I bet there are athletes that get back out there pretty quick.
Just look at all football players.
They get out there
pretty
quickly.
Baseball, it's like, we're going to err on the side of caution here. He's probably going to miss maybe a little longer than a week. Football, they're like,
tomorrow,
2 days, you're good to go? Perfect. Put you back out there.
But of all the injuries, of all of them where you'd want to be cautious and follow medical protocol, I would assume it would be head injuries in all sports. Now, I wouldn't be overly concerned about Luis Ariza's long-term health over concussion. They occur. Mm-hmm. People get them in non-professional sports situations as well, right? He's not expected to be dealing with concussions, year in and year out, hopefully moving forward. But I think you are going to err on the side of caution. And once they reported concussion-like symptoms, we knew he was going on the IL.
100%.
And there was no question. And the other thing,
he got knocked out.
That's what I was going to say. When Andy said that yesterday was tough, not only was he knocked out, imagine the soreness that occurred because it was like head, neck, shoulder, like just the contact of the injury.
Shoulders, knees and toes.
Other than the knees and toes, like he was probably like super sore, regardless of whether he suffered a head injury or not. It was like a violent collision.
Dude, if you got
I'd be out forever.
Forearmed to the jaw that knocked you out cold.
My jaw would probably be broken.
Your face would be broken.
Probably true. My face would be like purple.
Correct. But I'm just saying, that is going to get eventually sore. That is going to hurt. It's not going to feel good. It's not like all of a sudden.
It's true.
It's like, I'm fine. Like, that's going to hurt. If you get knocked out cold, running full speed down the line, and you meet Mauricio Dubon's forearm with your jaw.
Yeah, and his body. I mean, that was a scary, non-everyday baseball collision.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in the grand scheme, he's going to prove to be fortunate, even if it is 7, 10, 14 days. Mm-hmm. Because if it was broken jaw, it's months. Yes. You don't get back in the field with a broken jaw in months.
Yeah, so you know how they do, like, the word of the day is.
What's the word of the day?
Well, it's more like a phrase. The phrase of the day is treading water.
For the team.
Correct.
Just stay afloat. Avoid getting swept at home by someone.
Mm-hmm. And,
yeah,
you're
right.
And if you tread water to when these guys will return, the good news is it doesn't seem like these are obviously season-ending injuries.
Nowhere close.
Exactly. Nowhere close. These are just kind of injuries you got to monitor, and you have rehab and you got to recover, and you'll be back. You'll be fine. But in the meantime, the phrase of the day is treading water. And as I said, if in the next 8 games you go 5-3, 4-4, 5-3 would be amazing.
Yeah.
But if you go 4-4 in the next 8, then you add it up over the time that you have missed Jackson Merrill and Jake Cronenworth and Luis Ariz. It's not the whole time of the, but in the absence of those 3 in some fashion, you're 13-10 mixed in with the 8-2 start. That is, breaking things down in increments here instead of looking at like the whole entire season right now. If you break them all down, 8-2 with everybody fully healthy, 13-10 potentially with a bunch of injuries, and the lineup looking like it is today, you take
it. Now, the caveat there is we are assuming something. Or we're saying, would you take it? You're right. They have to go out and do it. The truth is, let's see here. Over their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Over their last 8, they're 3-5. And we're now asking them over their next 8, hey, can you go 5-3? I'm just making it up. Or 4-4. It's just the trend finally is downward. And it makes perfect sense because you're dealing with things that are going to impact your ability to win. Are you going to get good outings from Michael King and be capable of winning games 2-0? Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it will. Or someone like Dylan Cease. But what we saw in the first 10 days of the season when they were scoring 7, 8, 9 runs, I don't know if we're going to see that with these players out. I'd love to see it. Like, do you think over this homestand, Here's a quote. Do you think there'll be a game where the Padres score 7 runs?
Just like off top of my head with this lineup, no.
I don't think it. Now, it's definitely possible. It's baseball. We've seen 7-run innings.
For sure. Absolutely.
And you could be singled to death, so to speak.
But if I was a betting man,
Right,
I
it doesn't
probably
scream
wouldn't
it.
bet the over.
60-degree weather, decent enough pitching staffs, good enough teams, certainly with San Francisco, injuries that you're dealing with. So the formula is the formula that I liked heading into the year too. Use your bullpen, get out to a 1 or 2 run lead. You have a good rotation and win games 3-1, 2-1, 2-0. That's been the formula.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to change with these injuries. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm not expecting them. It may happen. I'm not expecting them to score 7 runs in any one day this weekend.
And what's nice about this quick 5-game homestand here with the off days is Michael King will pitch twice in the homestand. Dylan Cease will be tomorrow night. Nick Pivetta will be game 1 against the Giants, presumably next Tuesday. Randy Vasquez will be this Sunday, presumably against the Rays. So seeing Michael King twice on the homestand, along with Dylan Cease and Nick Pivetta. Randy Vasquez only one time, no Kyle Hart. That's why they made this 4-man rotation. And then you get into the road trip there. And like you said, they're not going to need a 5th starter until that Tuesday in New York against the Yankees. Oh, no.
Oh, man. What? Is there another injury? Or are you going to sneeze? You can't just say, oh, no, and stop talking. And now you unsneeze yourself.
I did unsneeze myself. If I kept talking, I would have sneezed. I unsneezed myself.
What do you do when you do a solo show?
Oh, it's a disaster.
Do you just sneeze? Brent says yes.
Yes, I do. For some,
Who hired you?
I don't know. It's live radio, bro.
But
Sorry.
by and large,
The cough button gets a major workout.
yeah.
Yeah.
By and large, you don't sneeze. I don't know. You sneeze basically hourly.
No, I don't.
On average, are you kidding me? For every show, on average, you have definitely sneezed once per hour in the history of the show, probably. Did you average 4 sneezes a day? Around me?
I don't keep track.
I do.
I don't keep
Do you
track.
sneeze around Aaron?
Oh, yeah. And she hates me. She's like, take an allergy pill.
But no, once you start sneezing, you're done. Thankfully, you didn't
yeah.
sneeze there.
No, I didn't. I
Yeah.
stopped myself somehow.
What were you saying?
I have no idea.
Oh, my gosh. It was like, oh, no. I'm like, oh, no. Like something happened. It was you about you sneezing.
No, it was the 4-man rotation.
No, you weren't talking about the format. Maybe
Stop, sneeze. Achoo.
Achoo. Ha 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 ha. That's my AI self.
Oh, man.
I was talking about the 4-man rotation and that you're not going to need a 5th starter until that Yankees series.
May 6th, yeah.
It probably will be like Stephen Kolek or a spot start from somebody
Correct.
in the bullpen. But because you're taking out the 5th starter, I like their chances here over the next 8 games or so until Merrill gets back to play decent baseball. Like to not fully go under the water here and have a really bad stretch where they go 3-5 or 2-7.
Well, 2-7 is 9, but I get your point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not expecting them to go in the tank either. I'm not. And treading water is suitable for the next 8 games, and hopefully they can play better than that. All right, on the other side, let's finally get to Magoon Gwath. He has had knee surgery. What does that mean for the Aztecs? We'll catch up with Mark Ziegler, who covers the beat for San Diego State men's basketball at 4. Plus, be listening. This hour, we're giving away San Diego FC tickets. When you hear the Adrian Garcia Marquez goal call, call 877-767-4760 for your chance to win tickets for tomorrow's game at Snapdragon Stadium. This is Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Again, when you hear that goal call from Adrian Garcia Marquez, make sure to call 877-767-4760 for a chance to win 2 free tickets to see SDFC tomorrow at 4:30 at Snapdragon Stadium. There's been so much going on. Now, Mark Ziegler is going to join us coming up at 4 p.m. We received word through his reporting this afternoon, probably within the last 2 hours or so, that Magoon Gwath, who announced Wednesday he will return for his redshirt sophomore season, he also has undergone knee surgery. It's arthroscopic. Remember, he was dealing with the knee injury that happened last February at Utah State. Hyperextended his knee, came back to play against North Carolina.
Forced him to miss, 6 games?
6 games,
Yeah.
6 or 7. Came back for North Carolina, scored 9 points, had a couple of blocks in that game.
Yeah.
And then the portal was open. He announced he would return at the beginning of April. And now a couple of weeks later, he's undergone the knife and had this arthroscopic knee surgery. So I don't know the full extent. We'll talk to Mark at 4. There is a quote in here from Brian Dutcher. And the quote is this: the main thing people need to know is that he will be ready for the season. So that's the encouraging part. That's Brian Dutcher saying the main thing you need to know is that Magoon Gwath will be ready for the season. If there's any good when a player goes under the knife or has a surgery to clean something up, you're doing it in an off season, right? This isn't the start of the year like Reese Waters last year with his foot injury. You're over 6 months from their opener. Their opener is at least, 6.5 months away. Early November. It's still just April. So hopefully he's cleared and ready to go when the season rolls around 7 or so days into November.
The only bummer about this, other than the fact that he had to have knee surgery, is that, this offseason for him and his developmental process, it's not going to be a normal offseason. It's instead of him developing, it's going to be him rehabbing. And that's the part where you're like, that's a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
But better to have it now than closer to the regular season. Because if it was closer to the regular season and he missed
the year
a bunch of time, then that would be that'd be a problem. And then he'd probably have to redshirt, and then he would.
Well, he's already
redshirt. You're right.
He's already. I don't know. There might be examples of multiple medical red shirts, but yeah. I don't know what would have happened then. The good news is it is occurring right now. And, even in reading some of this article from Mark, and I don't think anyone knows the true extent of the surgery or what the exact surgery entailed or what's being repaired. Maybe it's in that knee that was hyperextended. To the extent of what's being done, I'm not sure if we know or not, but it's arthroscopic. And typically the arthroscopic recovery is shorter than the true full surgery on a PCL or whatever else in there. So again, Mark, in this article, if you read it, it's at the UT, we'll talk to him at 4 p.m., puts the conservative estimate somewhere in that 5 to 6 months. Well, 5 months, you're still probably 6 weeks in front of the season. 6 months, you're still probably weeks in front of the season. But yeah, I don't know if that includes the ramp up or if that's just the recovery time.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to guess on this, but
it's hard to know.
But after 6 months, maybe that's when you become fully ready to go. But you're also going to be during that time. It's not like you can't move around normally for 6 months. You're going to be able to move around. It's just about what you're able to do, in those 6 months after the surgery.
Oh yeah. He'll be, I don't know the timeline in terms of when he'll start rehabbing, but yeah, I mean, there'll be months in there where I'm sure he's back on the floor or rehabbing
for sure.
I don't know. Again, Mark writes in here, this is in the weeds, but if it's this form of quote unquote augmented repair that he theorized on, recovery by the season opener in early November is reasonable without unforeseen complications. The target is typically 5 or so months. And again, what Brian Dutcher says is the main thing people need to know is that he'll be ready for the season.
And if worst case scenario, he misses the first couple games of this season,
you're right. It can be overcome.
You can overcome that as long as, this doesn't linger into the year where it's he had a setback or whatever. And you are just happy that if he was going to have surgery, it happened now. And it wasn't closer to the regular season. That's a sigh of relief.
Yeah, completely.
That is a problem.
Clearly when he suffered that injury in February, that's been impactful. To what extent, I don't know. As in, did he have to have the surgery? I don't know. That's ultimately, we've talked about this with the Padres before. Sometimes it's up to the individual, where maybe Jim Russell would have surgery, maybe John Schaefer wouldn't for a certain injury.
Right.
So that's up to the individual. And Magoon has decided to have this surgery, and hopefully that's better for his long-term outlook. I mean, this is a guy that hopefully has a long NBA career ahead of him.
And that's what he's thinking about. You don't want this thing to linger, and credit to him for coming back and playing in that North Carolina game in play-in and Dayton.
I thought he played really pretty well in that game. That was not a good game. I thought Magoon played pretty well in that game.
He looked clunky, but he also was out for 2-3 weeks before that.
Oh, at least 3+ weeks. Remember the first shot of the game? It was like a left wing three. I'm like, please go in.
Oh, I know.
Didn't, but yeah, he just like pulled up. He had a couple slams in the game, a couple blocks. Played 24 minutes. We looked up the box score the other day, but I mean, he was like 9.6 rebounds, 2 blocks. I mean, it wasn't, and that was off missing 3.5 weeks or whatever it was.
Right. So he was very rusty, and he was dealing with an injury to his knee.
Exactly.
That he ended up having his surgery on.
Exactly. So Mark will join us coming up again at 4 p.m. Annie Halbrin at 5. Be listening for that, again, goal sounder for a chance to win SDFC tickets. I wanted to mention last night in the first round of the NFL draft, we'll have more on the upcoming second and third rounds here today, that there was a former Aztec. There was a former Aztec selected 32nd overall, Josh Simmons, out of San Diego, played, somebody help me. He played at Helix, but he also played
Madison High School.
At Madison High School. Thank you, Marshall. He actually played at Madison. He never played at Helix because of the pandemic, but out of Madison, Helix, San Diegan, 2 years under Brady Hoke at San Diego State. Redshirt starter, 13 games, got plucked by Ohio State in the portal, was hurt this year. He goes to the Chiefs, 32nd overall. So didn't graduate from San Diego State, didn't get to the draft via San Diego State, but did spend 2 years in an Aztec uniform. He was taken 32nd overall. How'd you feel about your Niners?
I have no idea.
Yeah, nobody does.
You really have no clue. You think guys are going to be good and they turn out to be busts, and you think guys are going to be busts and they turn out to be good.
Sure.
I didn't watch much Georgia football this year, I can tell you that. And then I'm that person, and like every person, your team drafts a player, you immediately go to YouTube, you immediately look up, X player's highlights, and they're all the best of his highlights. They're like, this guy's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, you need to watch the entire game. And I'll just trust what like guys like Craig Cosell say about Michael Williams and other draft experts that know much more about it than I do.
I'll trust social media, and I saw some people that don't like the Niners that said their draft sucked.
Someone said it's like, give them a D- for their draft. I'm like, okay.
You're so right. Someone's getting an A grade, and that player's not going to be great. And somebody's getting like a C grade, and that player could be a future Hall of Famer.
Right. Everyone's loving what the Giants did last night, trading back up in the first round to get Jackson Dart.
Quarterback, yeah.
He could be complete bust.
No one has. It's the Giants. The expectation is he's going to be a complete bust.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So a lot to get to. Again, be listening for that sounder for your chance to win those SDFC tickets. Shedeur Sanders is still on the board. What Sean Lewis told us last week about the quarterback that he was the offensive coordinator for at Colorado 2 years ago. You'll hear from Sean Lewis on the other side. Mark Ziegler at 4 p.m. This is Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by Caltrans, cleancalifornia.com. Padres and Rays take on a 3 a.m. series tonight at Petco Park, 6:40 first pitch. Michael King on the mound for the Padres tonight. NBA playoff action. Celtics and Magic tip off at 4 p.m. in Game 3 with the Celtics leading that series 2-0. Bucks Pacers tip off at 5 p.m. in Milwaukee. And then Lakers and Timberwolves tip off at 6:30 p.m. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. We just talked about it. It's been reported by Mark Ziegler that Magoon Gwath has had knee surgery. We'll talk to Mark Ziegler to give us the latest at 4 p.m. And the NFL draft gets underway in a half hour from now. Yesterday, Cam Ward was taken number 1 overall by the Titans. Shedeur Sanders was not drafted in the first round. Imagine a photograph of your favorite place in California, then right in the middle of it, one piece of litter. Litter has no place in our lives, not one piece. Together, let's change that. Clean California, zero litter is the goal. CleanCA.com.
All right, be listening for a chance to win those STFC tickets for tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. When you hear the goal sounder from Adrian Garcia Marquez, call 877-767-4760, caller 10. You'll be going. That goal sounder will be heard between now and 4 p.m., so don't go anywhere. At some point in the next 20 or 25 minutes or so. So Shedeur Sanders, breaking news, didn't get drafted yesterday.
What?
And everyone, and I mean everyone, has an opinion on that. Okay,
Oh, yes, they
can
do.
leave it at that. But everyone has an opinion on Shedeur. So it'll obviously happen at some point tonight because we have multiple rounds of the draft. It could happen immediately, Jim. It could be 33rd overall. It could be later. I have seen some speculation that he could fall further, or teams would even trade up to consider getting him now that it is the second round. We had Sean Lewis on the show last Friday, I think. And we had an interesting back and forth with Sean. And the reason why it's of particular interest is Sean was Shedeur's offensive coordinator in 2023.
Yeah.
When he had some of the best numbers of his career. Those first 6 games, he had back-to-back 500-yard passing games. It's when he completely burst onto the scene.
It was incredible.
So this was from our conversation with Sean Lewis at their fundraising event with Aztec Link just about a week or so ago. And I think this is after you asked the question about Shedeur Sanders. And I agree with Sean there.
I like that. Sean Lewis is really good there. Yeah, that was a good answer by Sean Lewis.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, what
part of
that was your favorite?
Musical instrumentation did you like most?
The second half.
Yeah.
Where it was like,
but you agree? Now that you heard it again from Sean, it's like it makes more sense, right?
It makes a ton more sense why he wasn't drafted yesterday in the first round. I get it.
Let's hear from Sean Lewis on Shedeur Sanders.
He's one of the best players I've ever coached, right? They've been fortunate to be a part of and to be a very small, piece of his journey. And I was always impressed with his football IQ. I was always impressed with his, competitive nature. And shoot, guys, I wouldn't be sitting here visiting and talking with you guys if it wasn't for him. So, to me, he's a high level pick. And, there's speculation in the talk, right? From being top 5 to wherever that may play out. But to me, he's a bona fide dude. He should be a top 10 pick, top 5 pick. And, whoever gets him is going to be fortunate to have him. And I mean, as he said, he's spot on, right? Like wherever he's gone, he's proven himself to be a winner. And really, he's going to do that at the next level as well.
I always go back to that TCU game.
Yeah.
That opener, that was an unbelievable football game.
Yeah, dude processes at a really, really high level, right? I mean, he's very, very cerebral. He's got unbelievable accuracy. He's got unbelievable touch. And, excited to see what the future holds for him. And he's earned everything that, all these opportunities he's created, and excited to see where that goes.
And with all these, I guess, quote unquote, knocks on him, one of the biggest things that he does is he, like you said, processes, and he had such a high completion percentage in college. Like that to me is something I feel like will translate very well to the NFL. And for GMs, like, don't you feel like, hey, you should look at this instead of maybe some other things because this is what translates the most?
Yeah, I mean, right, like this is the time of year where everything gets nitpicked. Right? I mean, shoot, like we're probably just as guilty of it too at the end of the day when it comes to how we evaluate the high school kids, right? But like you can look at this stuff 6 different ways from Sunday now, right? But like at the end of the day, does he win? Does he value the football? Do his teammates like him? I think those are all unequivocally yeses, right? And so I mean, I'm excited again to see what his future is, where it holds, where it all goes. And, the team that he ends up with is going to get a good one.
All right. So he said top 10 talent. I think he even clarified, said top 5. And here we are a day later. I mean, this was last week. This was before we knew whether Shedeur would be the first overall pick or not drafted. But here we are a day into the draft, and he's still on the board at 33.
I think as a talent, Sean Lewis is absolutely right about him as a talent.
Yeah.
Now, there's some things that on the tape, when you watch, and if you watched him play, you don't like he holds on the football too long, takes too many sacks. He's not as athletic as you maybe want your quarterback to be, especially in today's NFL. But, throws on time. He has a big arm and he processes very well. And that obviously translates to the NFL. But then you get to the other stuff, the intangibles, right?
That's where we don't know.
That's where we just don't know.
Or that's where the questions are. I mean, some people are very critical of his intangibles. Does the stuff that we saw last night on social media matter? He's got this, huge event. He's got the chains that we talked about. There's 6, 7, 8 chains he could have worn.
He built his own draft room, his own.
It looked cool.
Green room.
I would have liked to been invited. It looked fun.
Looks fun, except nothing happened.
Waiting for 4 hours, and then he spoke to the crowd afterwards and was like, "Yeah, we all know what happened tonight shouldn't have happened." Well, I mean, that's in your opinion. I mean, these teams all
he then rapped afterwards.
I missed that, but the teams aren't in the business of doing anything other than trying to make their team better. This isn't some grand conspiracy.
No.
If any one of these 32 teams thought that this was their number one priority, he'd be gone. Maybe it's their number 2 priority. We'll find out tonight when this gets back underway.
And now we didn't listen to the draft, at least the first part of the draft, because we were on the air yesterday.
Right.
But there was a big talking point of how, especially Mel Kiper and the rest of ESPN, the main broadcast, after every pick, it was like, Shedeur.
We called it to a T. They were ripped. ESPN has been ripped for their lack of coverage of the first pick of the draft. It was a formality. The Cam Ward thing, he got 30 seconds. I mean, really, they broke it down. He got 30 seconds, the number 1 pick in the draft. They didn't go back to it throughout the course of the first round. Now, Shedeur, of course, is covered heavily. We knew it would be. That's probably a ratings win, obviously, for them. But I mean, the fact that the number 1 pick in the draft got probably 1/25 of the coverage of Shedeur Sanders, it was probably a pretty big miss.
Pretty big miss. It's a huge miss. It's a joke. I'm so happy that I didn't have to listen to Mel Kiper last night, glazing over Shedeur and him not being picked in the first round. It's pretty glaring if Mel Kiper's like, this guy's the best player in the draft, and he doesn't get picked in the first round. I'm going to look at the actions of the NFL GMs over what Mel Kiper is saying. And the actions of the NFL GMs tell you they do not believe that Shedeur Sanders was a first round pick. And that's pretty clear.
And there's no in the NFL, you could argue going back to Kaepernick. If you want to say something was up with Kaepernick, I don't care. It's fine. Say it. There is no grand conspiracy heading into a draft to not draft this player.
No.
There are always reasons. When players fall, there are injuries, there are off-field issues, there's problems in the interview room, there's questions about intangibles, to your point, but it's not for anything else. If the player makes the team better, the player gets selected, unless there is a reason. You're dealing with legal issues off field. I mean, there's a zillion things that could pop up, but these teams have one interest in mind: get better.
I do feel like because of the Shedeur Sanders, I guess, drama, if you want to call it that, in the first round, and that being the number 1 thing that every single talking head show opened up their show with today, the Jacksonville Jaguars are lucky that the Shedeur Sanders drama is playing out the way it did, or else they would be the number 1 story coming out of day 1. What the hell were you guys doing?
If not for the whole Sanders saga.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't. Now, in real time, when we were on the air yesterday, I'm like, okay, it's basically a swap here. And then the first round pick next year, that makes no sense. But other than that, it's pretty much a swap. Oh, no, it's not.
No, we were you were critical. We were pretty critical.
No, I was very critical of it. Yeah. But the more I after the show, looking at it, it is such an awful trade for the Jacksonville Jaguars unless Travis Hunter turns out to be this all-pro right away.
Going to have to be all pro. He's going to have to play both ways. He's going to have to be like the talk of the NFL.
You gave up your second-round pick this year. Cleveland now has 2 picks in the second round in the first 8 picks.
It's 1 and 4.
So they have the 3 of the top 38 picks in the draft.
Yeah, it might even be. It's 36.
Yeah, 3 of the top 36 picks in this year's draft, plus an extra first round next year, and they get to keep their first round draft pick next year. So they have 5 total picks the next 2 years in the top 35 of the draft, and they traded up to get Travis Hunter, which I am still skeptical on. I'm going to need to see it because he just looks so tiny to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I'm obviously not some Greg Cosell draft expert player evaluator, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
So the pick that they traded for tonight, so they have picked, Cleveland has picked 33. That's the first pick. And they've picked 36. That's the fourth pick.
3 in the top
they
36.
2 of the top 4 today and 3 of the top 36. And do you believe that Shedeur Sanders goes either 33rd to Cleveland or 36th to Cleveland? Because the Texans pick 34th. They are not taking a quarterback. And the Titans pick 35th.
Don't the Browns have an additional second round pick? Do they have 3 second round picks?
Yeah, I think they may. No, they do not.
Oh, they don't.
No, they do not. Maybe was that traded away
I don't know.
in that deal?
Well,
No, they have 2.
Okay, they have 2.
Yep.
Still, they have 2.
Yep.
They can go out. They can get the corner from Michigan if they wanted, who's still out there.
And Shedeur.
Shedeur. So they can get Shedeur.
Maybe. Depending on what happens at 34 and 35.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But still, if you're looking at the Browns, you're like, wow, they did something smart.
They did something well, yeah. And by the way, the second round of the draft will start in about 20 minutes. Be listening for your chance to win those SDFC tickets. When you hear the goal sounder, make sure to call 877-767-4760. Caller 10 is going to see SDFC tomorrow at Snapdragon. We've got injury updates directly from Mike Schilt at this hour, plus Mark Ziegler from the UT at 4 p.m. Jon and Jim.
Golazo! G-O-L-A-Z-O! Goal! Tommy Uncle!
right, tonight, San Diego Sports 760 has Game 3 of the Lakers' first-round matchup against the Timberwolves. Pre-game coverage, 6:15, tip-off at 6:30. You're home for the Lakers in San Diego. San Diego Sports 760. Mark Ziegler will join us coming up at 4 p.m. We have injury updates directly from Mike Schilt. What are those, Jim?
Well, John, glad you asked that question as I just exited out of.
That's great.
All right, Mike Schilt on Jackson Merrill and Brandon Lockridge said that they are progressing, but will likely go to Arizona to get some live hitting before eventually rejoining the team. Said for Luis Arraez, the grogginess is subsiding and the activity is increasing, but he will continue to be evaluated.
All right, so that's not, to our point, that's not screaming he's coming off when he can come off, but maybe he will. We'll see. There's still time on Arraez. And Merrill and Lockridge to maybe participate in like sim type games in Arizona. Maybe that would allow him to be with the team on the road coming up to start that road trip in Pittsburgh.
Maybe. I just hope that it doesn't like keep extending and extending. Right. And they're like, oh, he felt this, he didn't feel this way. It's like, and they don't know a date. We don't know a date. It's not like they're going to be like, this is the exact date. Because if they say this is the exact date and he's not returned by that exact date, then they're going to look like fools.
Yeah, exactly. And we're like, I get it. You're dealing with human beings and there's work that goes into it. Like they probably have to pass tests.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do they feel? How does the player feel after participating in a sim game? Or how do their hamstrings feel? The hamstring bros or buddies, whatever they are. Merrill.
Hamstring bros?
But yeah, again, it's kind of what we expect and it's kind of what we hear. It's just being slow played. It's April. It's not October. And they're being maybe cautious. Maybe some of it makes sense. We started the show by saying Jackson Merrill has missed time in 3 of the last 4 years of the hamstring, going back to the minor leagues. Maybe it makes sense to be cautious. No, it's not. It's really not good at all. But maybe it makes sense to be cautious considering what he means to this team moving forward.
Absolutely. You just sign him to a 9-year contract extension.
Yeah.
You don't want to all of a sudden after that have him miss like an extended period of time. Now he is missing an extended period of time, but longer than a month, then you start to really worry. Like Tatis, how many months did he miss last year? 2, 3?
2.5, maybe.
2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Merrill will have already missed about a month this year.
Yeah, you're right. And Tatis broke his leg.
Right. And Jackson Merrill was told by the Padres to all of us that he just felt some tightness.
Right. It was day to day.
It was day to day. Now it's month to month.
Right. Exactly. Congratulations to Thomas from El Cajon. You are going to see SDFC tomorrow afternoon at Snapdragon Stadium, 4:30 start time, 4 p.m. Our pregame coverage begins right here on San Diego Sports 760. Mark Ziegler will join us in 10 minutes. The commissioner has floated an idea today of shortening the draft. Now, he doesn't want to shorten the draft. He wants to shorten time between picks. Beginning in the first round, he thought it could be a good idea to shorten the clock from 10 minutes to 7 for first round selections. Now, we watched this play out last night. The draft took 3 hours and 40-something minutes. They were off air around 8:47 Pacific. I was watching it because Josh Simmons got drafted. So they were on the air for about 4 hours. It was like 3:45. If they went down to 7-minute selections, the whole first round would probably take 3 hours. It would fit in that 3-hour prime time, like 8 to 11 Eastern TV window.
Dude, nobody was there by pick 32. Everyone's gone.
Why would once your team picks?
That's what I said.
That's like, what are you going to do?
Nothing. There's nothing to do in Green Bay.
Well, you're just in a parking lot.
Right. It's like
going to do buy like a beer. That's fun. Like I'm watching. They're all back today, waiting for Shedeur.
And no, they're not. But it's like overcast.
No, it's raining.
Raining.
Yeah.
It just is, to me, it looks like the most miserable thing that you could possibly do.
It's just made for television.
Right, it is.
It's beautiful on television. They tell me all the best available. They got all the stats for me, all the breakdowns.
Yeah, if I'm watching the NFL draft, I want to watch it at home, not in person. I want to hear, like, when my team selects, I want to hear the breakdown. Like, that's what I want to hear.
You know the part to me that's the most cringe, or like the cringiest, is when they show that team's fan base at the draft, and they're like, with the 28th pick, Will McIntyre, guard, Middle Tennessee. And they're like, yeah, I wanted the Middle Tennessee guard.
Like who?
You never heard of this guy in your whole life.
Not one time. I get it.
It's the equivalent of me like screaming at like the Major League Baseball draft. Because once you get to pick 28.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think these are real fans?
Yeah. I mean, they put them in certain areas. I do. I think that the people in Green Bay, there's fans of all the teams.
The Green Bay fans are real.
No, but sure. I think there's fans of all the teams. It's like a pilgrimage type experience. Hey, let me go to the draft.
Jacksonville Jaguar fans are like, hey,
well, they only showed like 8 of them. You think before the pick, they're like, yo, put this jersey on?
I would not be surprised.
No way.
If there are fillers.
There might be fillers. There might be.
With jerseys on that are ushered in there for certain teams. Absolutely. There's no way that like pockets like of 20 to 30 deep fans of every team are going to the NFL draft.
You don't think?
No. You think Raiders fans are like, let's go to Green Bay, Wisconsin for the NFL draft? Maybe a couple, but there's not like 100 Raiders fans there.
I think there's like 200,000 people.
I know, but that's like all in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Hat. There's a Broncos hat. It's like, have you ever watched a game from Wembley?
There's a Packers fan wearing a Dodger hat. Makes sense.
But have you ever watched a game from Wembley? Those like morning games? Yeah, you have, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they pan the crowd and all the fans are wearing jerseys of all the teams.
Right.
That's kind of what the NFL draft reminds me of.
I just think that there's fillers there for sure.
I don't know, man. I hadn't thought about it.
I had about 5 friends that went. 2 of them were actually Broncos fans. So who knows? That might have been him that you saw on there.
Maybe.
Right.
But yeah, they said there's a good mixture. Obviously, it was like 80% Packers fans that were there, but that's the way it is. You know, when they were in Cleveland or wherever, it was 80%.
Well, here's my question, Jim. Maybe hear me out. They have 32 teams.
Yeah.
Does the NFL hold? Do the clubs say, "Hey, we have 100 seats to the NFL draft for our ticket holders," and then 100 people go for the Raiders, and 100 people go from the Niners?
They set it up
to me
where
makes sense.
Like the super fans.
Yeah, the super fans, because I mean, these fan bases are massive. I mean, there's truly 1 million plus San Francisco 49er fans. You could get 100 people through like season ticket holders or whatever.
But it's what the NFL does to get those fans there.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like fans on their own dime.
No, I agree with that.
Are not going like I'm telling you. Do you think there's really a bunch of Jacksonville Jaguar fans that are like, hey, do you guys want to go to the NFL draft this year?
I don't think there's a bunch of Jacksonville Jaguars fans.
That is also true. Yeah.
You know?
No, I'm with Jim because a lot of these are like giveaways to where, you know, the NFL and like MasterCard win a trip to the NFL draft. And they're probably doing that in every NFL city. So then they can at least pan out and be like, oh, look, the whole league is represented here at the draft.
But it is the NFL. It is king. They don't really need to do much of that.
That's what I was thinking.
But I do think there needs to be a little of it.
I'll give you an example. If the MLB draft was in Milwaukee this year, you would have no chance in hell of having hundreds of fans of all 30 teams because nobody cares at all about who's going to go 4th overall in the MLB draft. If they tried to pull off a stunt like this, there would be no one there.
Well, in comparison. Well, first off, they do the baseball draft
in a studio.
The studio for MLB Network.
Correct. But I'm saying if they tried to do a traveling roadshow, there'd be no one there.
Correct.
From all the teams.
You're right.
But the NFL can pull it off because it's the National Football League.
Same thing with the NBA draft. You're not seeing Washington Wizards fans. Well, maybe if they get the number 1 overall pick and you got Cooper Flagg about to be taken there. But,
yeah, that's true.
But still, you're not getting. My point is, I highly doubt that Jaguar fans or name another irrelevant franchise in the league are sitting there on their own dime, on their own accord, texting with their buddies, hey, you guys want to go to Green Bay for the draft? Highly doubt it.
Maybe. You might be right.
The NFL has to step in, I'm guessing, to get, fans from every team there. Like there is something that they're doing.
Do the reporting on that. I want to see I want you to head out there and
actually I don't care.
You're like dying on that hill.
I know.
All right, Mark Ziegler from the UT will join us on the other side. The latest on Magoon Gwath, who had surgery to repair a knee injury. The latest there from Mark Ziegler. He reported it this afternoon, plus his thoughts on the roster heading into the year. What about Miles Byrd? Is he staying in the NBA draft process or not? Mark Ziegler to kick off hour 3. He'll join us next.
This update's brought to you by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Padres and Rays, game 1 of a 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. NFL draft rounds 2 and 3 get underway moments from now in Green Bay. Cam Ward was taken number 1 overall yesterday by the Tennessee Titans. Shedeur Sanders not drafted in the first round. In NBA postseason action, game 3s tonight. Magic and Celtics, they're about to tip off in Orlando. Bucks Pacers tip off at 5 p.m. and then Lakers Timberwolves tip off at 6:30 p.m. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. And the news of the day with the Aztecs, Magoon Gwath has had surgery on his knee. We'll have Mark Ziegler up next to discuss. Anderson's drain stoppage is guaranteed. Solve issues for $63 or it's on the house. Nobody wows clients like they do. Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air has been privileged to serve over 500,000 residential clients for more than 45 years. Visit AndersonPHA.com today.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
The latest, according to AJ Preller today, is that Jackson Merrill will not return this homestand. And I don't know what that means for the next road trip either.
I don't know either. I'm sure that with the Padres being at home for the next week, we're gonna get updates from Jackson Merrill. We're gonna see the tweets.
He moved laterally.
He
went at 62% from first to third. His swings have been with veracity.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim, and it's going to be great to catch up right now with Mark Ziegler from the UT. He's done great reporting as usual and writing today about Magoon Gwath undergoing knee surgery after earlier this week announcing he will return for his redshirt sophomore season on the Mesa. So Mark, of course, has covered the beat for a long time, San Diego State men's basketball, and you can read his writing in the UT. But Mark, we always appreciate it. So he's had the surgery. You wrote about this, but for our listeners, what's the prognosis and what does the return look like for Magoon?
So we don't have a ton of details. I talked to Coach Brian Dutcher today. He told me that he had arthroscopic surgery and that he expects him to be ready for the season, which is the first week in November. And that's all the details we have. I think we can speculate probably pretty accurately that it likely involved the PCL ligament in his knee, because when he initially hurt the knee on February 22nd at Utah State, that was the immediate concern of the medical staff, not the ACL, but the PCL. They did an MRI at the time. There's no major structural damage. But there was obviously some more minor damage, and that's what they've been rehabbing for the last couple months. And there is a type of surgery now that you can do where you attach a fiber suture tape to the ligament if it's not completely ruptured, which we know it isn't in his case because he came back and played a few weeks later. And that surgery has a much shorter recovery time, not much, but a considerably shorter recovery time than the full PCL reconstruction or like an ACL reconstruction, which is, closer to 9 months. This can be under 6 months. And I've heard and read some medical literature and it seems to be the 5 to 6 month range. And that would put him, anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 weeks before the start of the season. And so when they say they expect him back, that's what they're talking about, I think.
What type of impact do you think this has on his off-season development?
Well, obviously, young players, they always take steps in the off-season because they can, get out of the rigor of the season. They're allowed to lift weight. You can lift weights 4 or 5 times a week and not have to worry about playing games. You can focus on particular skill sets, whether it's, back to the basket, whether it's 3-point shooting, whether it's off the dribble, whether it's some defensive stuff. You can really hone in on those things. You also can get some rest. And so you go at your own pace. That's probably going to be wiped out for him. You would think all of May, all of June, all of July, all of August, probably. It's not the end of the world. You saw, Nick Boyd got hurt in July in one of the first practices they had a broken bone in his foot. And he didn't return until a couple weeks before the season. He came out in the first few games and played very, very well. He had a lull in the middle of the season, but he played very well at the beginning. So it is possible to get back and be on the floor and play pretty significant minutes.
Mark Ziegler from the UT again reporting on Magoon Gwath, who underwent knee surgery earlier in the week. The Aztecs are hopeful, as he's got quotes from Brian Dutcher. They do plan to have him back by the start of the regular season. When will we know more on Miles Byrd as we look to kind of finalize this 2025-26 roster? He's got his name in the NBA draft process. When will he have to make a decision about either staying or leaving for the NBA?
So the end of May, I think 28th is the date, if I'm not mistaken, is the final day to withdraw and retain your college eligibility. There's a different date for the NBA. The NBA has a different date. You have to withdraw from the draft. I think it's like a week before the draft. But if you want to retain your college eligibility, it's got to be by the end of May. The draft, the key thing to watch here is whether he is, and I'll write something about this next week probably, but whether he is invited to the NBA Combine. Usually 65 to 75 players are invited to the Combine in Chicago. That's like May 11th, 12th, somewhere in there. There's a smaller G League Combine for the next sort of cut of players right before it, and a couple of those will advance to the main Combine. But if he's not invited to the main Combine, that's a pretty good indication you're not going to be a first or second round pick. I think his camp is pretty confident he could get an invite to that and then go to that. Then the second question becomes, how do you perform in that at that Combine? If you perform well and put yourself in conversation for late first round, middle of the second round, now you start to think that the guy might leave. If he doesn't get invited to the Combine at all, or he goes and doesn't perform really well, shoot well, scrimmage well, those types of things, then I think the conversation becomes more towards returning. But if he gets invited to the Combine, I'd say probably will go up pretty close to that deadline. If he doesn't get invited to the Combine, we'll probably be hearing from him pretty quick. And I think those Combine invites go out probably the 3rd or 4th of May, somewhere in that area.
So other than losing Nick Boyd in the portal, goes to Wisconsin, that's just, for argument's sake, assume that Miles Byrd returns. Pretty perfect offseason here in the portal for Dutch, right?
No, it's when if we look, we were talking 5 years ago, that's sort of be expected. You had a young team, everyone comes back. Maybe you lose one guy, but that's it. And that would just be normal. And I think people need to understand that is nowhere near normal right now. When you look across the country and look at the landscape of college basketball, and there are programs that are losing 6, 8, 10 guys in the portal. New Mexico, I know they got its coaching change, but they lost. I mean, it's insane. They lost every player, including walk-ons. They lost every coach. They lost their strength and fitness guy. Everything. A completely new program there. And you compare something like that in the same conference to San Diego State that basically lost one guy, and then obviously there were some seniors, but one senior who started, and then Nick Boyd into the portal, and they were, not only did they get everybody else back, but they've got some replacements in the portal as well. I mean, I don't think you could have imagined the offseason going any better for San Diego State. Just the pieces they've gotten. And then on top of it all, they get a 4-star, highly, highly touted freshman prospect in LZ Harrington, who decides he doesn't want to go to USC and just falls into their lap as well. And a perfect type of Aztec player on top of everything else. So you could not have scripted anything better than what happened.
Mark Ziegler from the UT with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. And you wrote about this, but to kind of continue down that path, Mark, how'd they do it from a coaching staff perspective and from the Mesa Foundation perspective? How did they keep this intact?
Well, the Mesa Foundation, I mean, I don't think people can give it enough credit. It's basically Jeff Smith and his wife, Wendy, and they have one full-time employee and they have some student interns. And they have built this thing from nothing and from having a budget of $350,000 in their first year. And that's just not $350,000 just going to the players. That's for everything. That's, salaries, that's administrative costs, that's overhead. And they basically put this together and grown it into, I think they have close to $3 million. Again, that's not all going to the players. That includes all your costs. So something less than that going to the players. But they've grown it into that, in 3 years. And just by themselves, and just, a lot of elbow grease and connections and conversations and events. So you need that on the one hand. But on the other hand, you still don't have as well as they've done. They're a good 3 times less NIL money for next season than the high major programs that let's be frank, they're competing against. So how do you keep the players? Well, you have to have a program that has a family atmosphere, has a coach who's respected, has a feeling of facilities, a fan base, a community, all that makes players want to stay for maybe a little bit less money. So when you put those two things together, that's how they did it. It wasn't one or the other. But you couldn't have, just with all the amenities and the good vibes that Dutch and his staff bring, that wouldn't have been enough to save the bulk of this roster if you didn't have at least some NIL, and they have that some NIL thanks to the Mace Foundation. So it's those two things working together.
So we had you on about a month ago, maybe, and we were talking about, preseason rankings for this team. And obviously the portal was still in full effect. And you mentioned, I think, top 15. Well, now the portal is closed, and we look at the team they have assembled, and Magoon, hopefully everything goes well with him. He'll be back to start of the season. Where do you have this team in your mind here, Mark, before the start of the season, as far as like in the AP polls go?
Well, obviously there's still a little bit more to go, and there's still some players out there, and there's also the fresh new horizon of European players that a lot of schools, you look at what Illinois has been doing, and a lot of schools are just going to go get European pros because everybody's a pro now, and used to not be able to get those guys. They can get them now. So you could see some more additions, but I still think they're in that 15 to 20 range in the AP poll. And what's remarkable about that is that when you look at what that poll is going to be, it's going to basically be 23 or 24 power conference schools, and then San Diego State and maybe a Gonzaga or a Memphis if they get their roster together. Though they've taken quite a few hits at Memphis, but probably San Diego State and Gonzaga will be the two that are in there, and that's it. And so for them to sort of be in that rarefied air, I mean, when you take out the 60, 65, 70 power conference schools out of the equation, and you're left with, 270 or so, or actually more like 290 is the remainder of Division I. And for San Diego State to be at the very top of that, or maybe second behind Gonzaga, is pretty incredible. And when you sort of look at it through that context, but I think I'll probably, as things stand right now, I'd probably put him in the teens to 20, somewhere right in there.
Mark, before you go, final one for me. With this type of roster now basically expected back or returning, and we know about their event that they played in Las Vegas last year that they're expected to play in again, that Players Era Festival. How will this impact the way they navigate non-conference scheduling? They've been so aggressive over the years. Do they even get more aggressive with the team they hope to have this year?
Yeah, I don't know how they could get more aggressive than they had the last couple of years. I mean, it was insane when you looked at it before the season, and they got through it. But I think they'll try. The problem is a lot of teams aren't going to want to play them, particularly power conference schools are not going to want to play this team because they know it's going to be good. And they kind of know the history of the program, and they don't want to take an early loss. So it's going to be interesting to see how they find games. I mean, I think they'd love to get a home-and-home series against a marquee opponent. You never know if they can get the BYU series going again. BYU is going to have an incredible team this year. I mean, there's been reports they have $20 million in NIL, basically an unlimited budget, and the number one recruit in the nation coming. So I'd love to see that started again, but they have such a hard, conference schedule with the Big 12 that they're not really that motivated to play hard non-conference games because they know what it's going to be when they get in the conference. But a team like that, they can maybe get a home and start it this year, because right now they don't have a marquee home non-conference opponent like they did last year with Gonzaga and in previous years with BYU. So I think that will be sort of the priority. But yeah, they'll go after that. What I suspect we'll see is some one-off neutral court games like they played the last few years against St. Mary's. Last year they played Cal. Last few years they played Cal. Something like that. We'll see at least a couple of those. But again, when you go to the Players Era, you're going to get 3 games, and they're all going to be really, really good. So how many more out of your 9 or 10 non-conference games do you really want to play that are just high level games? I think maybe one more, maybe 2.
Yeah, really good points. As always, Mark, appreciate your time. Great reporting again, as always. Magoon Gwath undergoing knee surgery earlier this week. But again, Brian Dutcher saying that they are expecting Magoon to be back for the start of the regular season. Always appreciate the time, Mark, and we'll do it again soon, all right?
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Talk to you.
All right, great stuff from Mark Ziegler. We'll get to the wrap on the other side. The second round of the draft is underway. Will Shedeur Sanders be drafted in the second round? Will he be drafted tonight? Stay with us here on Jon and Jim. All right, AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now to support keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now and keep AM radio in cars. Standard message and data rates apply. You'll hear from Mike Schill, his pregame comments on the health of his team. You'll hear that coming up in about 10 minutes. This draft second round is underway, and Shedeur Sanders remains on the board. We're 3 or 4 picks into the second round. Somewhat surprisingly, last night, Sanders didn't end up getting drafted. So then the expectation immediately turns to, well, surely he'll be drafted early in the second round, right? Well, it's still early in the second round. There has not been a quarterback off the board today, but we're still waiting, Jim, for Shedeur Sanders to hear his name called.
You thought it was going to be the Seahawks here as they traded up in the second round, but
not for him.
Not for him. So Ian Rappaport has reported that the Raiders at 37, if he does not go at 37 to the Raiders, it could be a long wait for Shedeur.
And 37th is the next pick in the draft because the Browns have just selected at 36.
Correct.
So the next pick in the draft, is that where Pete Carroll is going to start his Raiders tenure with Shedeur?
Shedeur and Ashton Genty?
Wow. Yeah.
Top 2 picks.
I mean, it's very possible. It's at least plausible.
It's very flashy.
It is flashy. It is Las Vegas.
True.
Right?
But I don't know if he's going to do that. Anyway.
What would be most fascinating is if another quarterback went before him. If the Louisville quarterback went before him.
Or Jalen Milroe.
Then you start getting into all the theories, right? Every theory you've heard over the last 24 hours, there's more theories if a quarterback goes before Sanders tonight.
Now, the Browns here are going to pick a running back from Ohio State, but it's not the running back you would think.
Okay. The running back I would think would be
Henderson.
Oh, yeah. It was like a big bodied running
Very
back.
fast.
Yeah. Physical.
Yep.
But they went with another Ohio State running back?
Yes.
Quinshon Judkins. Yeah. Well, Ohio State's whole team has been drafted. The first 36 picks is Ohio State.
Ohio State and Georgia.
Yes, correct. Well, in fact, the first round was all Big Ten SEC. It was like 25 of 32.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, not really a surprise. So now we wait on the Raiders and whether or not they draft Shedeur Sanders with this 37. Where are we, by the way, like in the slot money that is now
I don't
going
know.
to be guaranteed to these players? He's fine financially. Like, let's be clear. I mean,
he doesn't.
He's fine.
See his chain on his neck?
But the difference between getting drafted 3rd overall by the Giants and getting drafted 37th overall by the Raiders, I would imagine would be tens of millions of dollars, would be my guess.
Right. So anyway, the wait is on, and I'm sure Mel Kiper is losing his mind because
I think a lot of people have been losing their minds. Don't you? A lot of reaction.
I think a lot of people just want this to be over with so ESPN and everyone else can stop talking about it and like just get it over with, get him drafted somewhere so you can move on. Because if he does not get drafted here in the second round or even the third round, oh my gosh.
But doesn't it go back to what we said yesterday, which is like, doesn't ESPN aren't they the big winner? People just keep tuning in. We're just waiting.
The fall of Shedeur Sanders, definitely. So,
by the way, the 3rd overall pick is guaranteed $45 million overall. The 37th overall pick is guaranteed $11 million. You're talking about a $35 million swing. Now, could I live off $11 million for the next 4 years? I probably could. So I think he'll be fine. I could live off $1 million for a while. You can live off less than that. How do I know it? Because you're living.
Because I'm actually living
and you don't
off of way less than that.
It is crazy, man. You know what the last pick in the draft is guaranteed?
Yeah, what did Brock Purdy get? I think 800,000.
Well, it's for the 4-year deal. $4.3 million for the 4-year deal for the last pick in the draft this year.
I would love that.
Yeah, you would take that.
So 4.3 million.
I think divided by 4, maybe. That might include signing bonuses.
Okay.
It's $1 million, dude.
I know, but it's a little less than that, I think, because no, you're right.
It's a little more.
A couple years ago it was a little less.
Was, exactly.
It's gone up.
And there's signing bonuses in there. And they're not guaranteed at all. Like if
no,
cut,
they can get cut in.
Yeah, but again, if you're picked 3rd, it's a big difference between being picked 3rd and 37. So I'm curious. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I went home last night. I kept the thing on through pick 32. You texted me before I knew it was Josh Simmons. who went 32nd overall, the player that
Mhm.
was out of San Diego and spent 2 years at San Diego State.
Well,
Raiders pick is in, by the way.
Well, it's actually going to be the Dolphins pick because the Dolphins have traded up with the Raiders.
Wow. An IHOP trade alert.
And they're not taking Shedeur Sanders because they have Tua Tagovailoa.
Right. So how far down did Las Vegas just drop? I guess the Raiders didn't really want him if they just traded away the pick, right? They must not have really wanted him if they traded away the pick.
Of course.
All right.
What do you got,
All right.
Brent?
So the next slot down, then the Saints pick 40th. They would be the next, I guess, logical target. But after that, then the Jets pick 42nd. And then there's a huge gap.
Give me the Jets, Jim.
Just
give me the
make
Jets.
It,
Give it to me.
Just make it just so
back page.
Oh my God.
That might not end well. That might not start well.
Well,
they'll be begging for Aaron Rodgers to come back.
The WFAN today was losing their minds over Jackson Dart being traded, being drafted by the Giants.
Losing their minds negatively for them to trade up to go get Dart as opposed to Sanders.
I didn't fully listen.
No, I wasn't sure what like the tenor was.
It wasn't it wasn't that positive.
Didn't you read yesterday, or did you see the reports? They tried moving up to 1 to go get Cam Ward. That was their first goal of the night. Then they settled for Abdul Carter, but they did try moving up to go get Cam Ward last night. All right, we're gonna hear from Mike Schild on the other side. The Dolphins have not picked a quarterback, right, Jim?
No, they're picking a guard.
Okay. Updates from the NFL draft at Lambeau Field. The latest on Shedeur Sanders. Is he getting drafted tonight or not? We'll hear from Mike Schild on the other side. Stay with us.
All right, this update's brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres return home tonight. Take on the Tampa Bay Rays. 3-game series starting at 6:40 at Petco Park. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. NBA playoff action underway right now. Bunch of game threes tonight. Celtics and Magic. Celtics lead the Magic 21-14 with 4:30 left in the first quarter there. Bucks Pacers tip off at 5 p.m. Then Lakers Timberwolves tip off at 6:30. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. News with the Aztecs. Magoon Gwath has had surgery on his knee. Timetable for his recovery is about 5 to 6 months. Brian Dutcher says that he expects him to be back for the start of the regular season. And the NFL draft round 2s and 3 underway right now in Green Bay. Shedeur Sanders has still not been selected. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions do apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends June 14th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. We are going to hear from Mike Schill. He had his pregame scrum with the media. They've been on the road for a week. I didn't realize he spoke to the media for 10 minutes.
That's a good amount of time right there.
It's like longer than the draft. Well, not really.
Longer than the first round.
Not really. But I figured maybe 3 or 4 minutes. We're not going to hear the entirety of Mike Schill, but we will hear some of the initial questions that were asked to him. Still to come here today, Annie Halpern, who was at Petco Park and has been reporting all afternoon, has had some really good insights. She will join us, friend of the show, at 5 p.m. And yes, we're keeping our eye on rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft, and the latest with Shedeur Sanders, who is still on the board right now in Green Bay. But let's hear from Mike Schill. This conversation started with him answering about how it feels to get back home.
Yeah, I think we always, my time since we've been here, always enjoyed the synergy, the support we get from our big league, with our big league club, with the, Petco Park. So I don't know if there's anything more special, but we're glad to be home, I can tell you that.
Watching Berger walk around, everybody walking over, giving him a hug. It's interesting to see a club really embrace somebody like that who hasn't really been with them that long. Is that just kind of the atmosphere of the entire clubhouse here? It
is. I mean, we talk about loving each other quite a bit. You can say those words all the time, but they're hollow if they're not really meant or exhibited. And the actions don't meet the words. So, Bergie's up. I'm sure we'll ask a question, but it's no surprise that guys are so encouraging when somebody gets an opportunity to come to the big league level and join our team.
I assume it's the multiple days off, the reason for him being up here and Hart being down for a bit.
Yeah, so, we've looked at it. We've looked at it for a while now, lived with it. We thought Kyle's done well. He's had a couple innings, but, other than a couple innings, it's been really, really good. Giving us a chance to compete. But you do look up and you recognize that day off yesterday, day off Monday, day off Thursday, go on the road, another day off, 2 days off on the road trip. So we looked up and, we want to make sure we're taking advantage of our, off days to rest our starters, but they're getting rest. Nobody's going to get compromised. Michael and Dylan were both going to go on regular rest at one point anyway with a 5-man. But now they're going to do that once also, but they're also getting, extra days rest, and they have been getting extra days rest leading up to this. So a lot went into it, and here we are.
So is this effectively a 4-man for a couple of weeks?
It's a 4-man. We've got a date mapped out that, that starts to 5-man again, but for a couple, 3 starts, we'll be in a 4-man. With extra rest.
Excellent.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
How's Luis doing, Horizon? Do you expect to see him back when he's eligible?
We'll see. He's getting better every day. And I haven't seen him yet, which is, I want to go see this and hug him. But, every day's been better for him, sleeping better, grogginess subsiding, activity increasing, but still, working his way back to full, activity.
Merrill was out there a little earlier. Lockridge, full injury report. Can you give it to us?
Yeah. It's I'll give you Crony too, and Darvish is throwing aside today, so we got. Figure this one will take a while. But Jackson and Lockridge are all both in good places. Have had they really were intentional about getting the proper amount of rest, but also the proper amount of treatment coupled with baseball activity. while we were on the road trip. They really have progressed nicely. We're going to continue to evaluate them in the next 3 days, but they're both getting to a higher increase in their running. They're both able to get closer to a sprint level, which is clearly good. Do some defensive work, and also some, full swings and so forth. So they're getting closer. We'll still figure out what that looks like relative to being able to get out and what rehab or some kind of live VPs look like, but they're getting closer.
Getting closer.
Does that scream next
Pittsburgh?
road trip, like start of the road trip?
Is that screaming PNC Park in Pittsburgh to you?
Yeah, is that screaming 7 days from now?
Is that screaming let's go see Steelers mini camp and then get Jackson Merrill out there that evening?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, that's a good amount of time, like you just said. They have a week. In like sports terms, that's a good amount of time.
It is, but like they just slow play everything.
Sure, they've had 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And nothing has happened as of yet.
Like they just started rehabbing like a week ago.
I kind of tend to agree with what you said earlier, which is like maybe the middle of the road trip. Like you kind of meet them in the middle. Like, okay, they've slow played everything, knowing that. And what he just said, maybe it's not when they go on the road initially for Pittsburgh, because then there's another off day. And then where do they go? Colorado? No, Yankee Stadium.
Yankee Stadium, then Colorado.
Yeah, interesting trip with multiple off days in it.
So Pittsburgh, New York, Colorado.
I don't know. Maybe you do circle that Yankees series, to get fully or healthier. I don't know. I really don't. But that makes sense. That's still 10 days away.
Man, what kind of injury this hamstring was it?
Yeah, I need to see like what happened here.
Like, did he tear the thing? Like, what's going on?
I think it goes back to this. Like, he's been dealing with hamstrings in his professional career.
And this is an injury that he's had multiple times.
I don't know what happened in 2022 or 2023 in terms of which hamstring he's been bothered by. Is it the same one 3 times? That would be a big concern. But we talked about 2 hours ago off the top of the show. He missed time in 2022 with a hamstring in the minors. He missed time in 2023 with a hamstring in the minors. And now he's missing time in 2025 with a hamstring.
Yeah, it's not ideal. But again, like weathering the storm is the number one thing. So hopefully tonight they get a good pitching performance from Michael King. And if they can scratch across,
1 run,
4 runs tonight, I think they have a good chance to win the game. 3 runs.
Would you take 3 right now? Because you got King, and just say that as good as this pitching staff has been at home, we'll win with 3 runs.
Yeah, I think I have to take 3 runs.
I'll take 3 runs right now.
I think I have to take it and just, see what happens.
Yeah, and again, with King, with your bullpen, Petco Park, cool night, #marine layer. I'll take my 3 runs.
Is it supposed to be cold night tonight?
Yes, all weekend.
Oh,
yeah. Rain tomorrow.
Get ready for not a lot of scoring. And by the way, me's just saying that they're going to put like 9 runs tonight.
First inning runs.
10 runs tomorrow. Yeah. They're going to have an explode. Tyler Wade's going to go like 4 for 4 hit a home run on Sunday afternoon.
Is this the Xander home run series? That's a series in which he hits a home run.
That is a great question, John.
Does it happen this homestand?
Well, you have
5 games.
Well, he's got how many? He's got 5 games remaining in the month.
Is that what it is too? Is it even that many?
It is that many because they have a 3-game homestand here against the Rays and then a 2-game series against the Giants. So he's got 5 games remaining in the month, all at home. Will Xander have at least 1 home run by the start of May?
I say yes. I think he hits the ball over the wall in fair territory during the game. I say yes. It happens in the next 5 games. And then we can stop bothering about that and then worry about something else with him.
I'm going to say no.
You say no.
I'm going to say no.
Honestly, I'm more concerned about Manny. 3 for 23 road trip. I'd rather Manny get hot here over the next week with these guys out.
Because if you have this lineup out there, but you have a hot Manny and a hot Tatis and a semi-lukewarm Xander Bogaerts, like you can withstand and you can overcome some of these injuries in the short term. We've seen Manny carry teams with lineups that look similar to this.
I've seen, you're right.
Maybe even worse than this,
you're right.
Where he has absolutely carried the way and been the driving force in this team, ripping off a bunch of wins. Remember when they won like 7 games in a row a couple years ago when Manny was like really red hot, but the lineup didn't look that great. And he was actually hurt during that time. And
it's the Manny goes, team goes theory. I mean, when Manny homers, your chances of winning go up exponentially. Right? It's not like, oh, we homered in 3 straight games, they went 0-3. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So you're right. If Manny gets hot, if Tatis stays hot, I'm going to stop worrying about Xander. Because why am I worrying about Xander when I know what Manny and Toddy are capable of doing right now? They have a good series. You're right. Even with these absences, the Padres can still win games.
But just like magnifies everything. If Manny and Tatis go 0-fers, then it's like next man up. All right, Xander Bogaerts, what'd you do tonight? Because that's the next person you're looking at in the lineup after Tatis and Manny. If Tatis and Manny go 0-for tonight, what did Xander do? Did he go, 2 for 3 with a 2-run double and an RBI single mixed in there? Couple dingers, couple bombs.
So you hit a pair tonight?
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Probably not.
Probably not. But we can talk about it with Annie Halperin on the health of the Padres. She will join us coming up at 5 p.m. here tonight. So Annie will join us coming up in about 20 minutes. Do we still have the San Diego Mojo tickets, Brent, to give away? We'll do that on the other side. We have a 4-pack of tickets to see the San Diego Mojo take on the Indy Ignite. This is May 3rd at Viejas Arena, and this is San Diego's Major League Volleyball team. So we'll do that coming up on the other side. We still need to get to the wrap. Plus, we're on Shedeur Sanders' watch. He has not yet been selected. We are into round 2, the 40th overall pick, as the slide continues. We'll keep you updated. Annie Halperin at 5 p.m. This is Jon and Jim. Annie Halpern will join us from Petco at 5 p.m. Well, a quarterback is off the board in the second round, and his name is not Shedeur Sanders. It is Tyler Shaw, the starting quarterback for the Louisville Cardinals out of the ACC, 40th overall. So this slide is becoming almost like historic, Jim. I mean, there was some speculation he could go third overall as recently as 2 days ago. He now hasn't been picked in the top 40 picks, and he will not be one of the top 3 quarterbacks selected.
And there's still Jalen Milroe out there, who, by the way, went to the draft, so he's still there, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Maybe he left. I don't know. But yeah, from a top 5 pick to not even maybe the 5th quarterback selected in the draft.
I mean, it is almost like, what's going on here?
Well, it just shows, like you said, there's no conspiracy here.
No, I don't think there is.
No. There is something that NFL GMs and scouts saw with him, that consensus across the board, with especially teams that need a quarterback, was a major red flag. Because the numbers are great.
Numbers are really good.
Some of his attributes and his physical attributes really good.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking at a guy to potentially be the face of your franchise, to take in the first or second round, you got to feel really good on him. And as of right now, whatever that red flag is, it's a major red flag. And I think it's I think it's the stuff that's not on the tape, to be honest with you.
All the things that go into it, because you're drafting someone to potentially, like, this is the face of a franchise, that position. Like some of these other positions, you're not the face of the franchise. You're not asked to like bring a team together. Like, can he be that guy? Who am I to say? I mean, maybe. Isn't that any quarterback, really? I mean, there's always going to be questions, but you're right. I think the questions have added up to him sliding to this point in the draft. When does he go? Is he the next quarterback taken?
Well, you got the Jets here at 42, and if the Jets don't pick him,
let's go Jets.
I know. I'm hoping it's the Jets. Oh my God, please be the Jets. The Bears just traded out of the 41st pick, so they're not. I mean, they weren't going to choose a quarterback anyway, but they traded with Buffalo. Buffalo's not picking a quarterback here, so you're not going to see Shedeur here. If it's not the Giants, or not the Giants, if it's not the Jets, man, you could see a big slide here.
Unless someone trades up.
Because look at this. Look at this. After the Jets, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Niners, no. Cowboys, no. Colts, no. Falcons, no. Cardinals, no. Dolphins, no. Bengals, no. Seahawks?
Yeah, but I mean, they just picked and didn't take him. But yeah.
Broncos, no. Seahawks have the 50th and the 52nd pick. Maybe there. I don't know. Tampa, no. Green Bay, no. Chargers, no. Bills, no. Panthers, no. Texans, no. Ravens, no. Lions, no. Commanders, no. Bills, Chiefs, Eagles. That's the rest of the second round.
Retire. Right? It's like there's no team that needs you.
Well, you know,
go back to Colorado.
The next time that the Pittsburgh Steelers pick is 83rd, do you think he gets drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers at 83?
Well, at some point, it's going to be too good of a value to pass up. I would suspect it's before 83rd.
The team that needs a quarterback, yeah.
It's going to be before 83rd. You want to make a bet? Yeah, let's do it.
What do you want to bet? I bet you $1 million.
I wouldn't do that, but I would bet you like a sushi roll. You think he's going to fall past 83rd?
No, I thought we were betting.
Oh, no, I'm betting that he'll go by 83.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to go by 83.
I think
he's going to go in the second round, potentially, or he's going to go in the third round. Or
maybe.
Now again, to your point, if Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe ends up going before him,
then it's got real spicy.
It's already gotten spicy.
It's very
Louisville
spicy.
Quarterback. I mean, this has become pretty, I don't know, encapsulating. Like I can't take my eye off this just because of Shedeur. Although they haven't showed him tonight. Last night they were showing that like draft party.
Buffalo has drafted Sanders.
It's just a different one.
But defensive tackle TJ Sanders.
How many times can we tease this?
All night long.
Yeah.
All night long.
Do you think he's drafted by the time we're off the air at 6 p.m.? Because that'll be way before pick 83.
I think so, yes.
Okay. So then you think he's going in the second round, and so do I.
I think he's going to get. I think a team's going to trade up.
I think Jets 42.
Do it, Jets.
Come on.
Come on. Live a
You're
little.
The Jets.
YOLO.
What are you going to lose?
Everything.
Your future.
Your jobs.
True.
Yeah, your careers. It's fine. Just do it. Come on, Woody.
What do you got?
Here's an interesting thing that Marshall brought up during the break. The Rams pick up 46.
Okay.
They kind of thought about getting rid of Stafford this offseation.
Stafford for Sanders.
Well, would they roll the dice on it at 46?
Jim goes, nah. It's not going to happen. I mean, there is a team that's going to take him.
Is it like you said, sooner or later, the value is just going to be too great, and there's going to be no risk.
Yeah.
Will Brinson has a great tweet.
Okay.
AARP candidate Tyler So drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders. What a world. Isn't he
how old is this guy?
Is he like 26?
But does that even matter? I mean, it's not like you're going to ask this guy to be a 20-year starter.
No,
if you got 5 years out of him,
but
great.
Age in the NFL, I mean.
I think more, you're right, but quarterback, I don't know.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, because those careers are so
Bo
long.
Nix is the last guy that got drafted.
It was last year.
That was like 24 years old, and he had a great rookie season.
Right. That was just last year. And when was he drafted? What round?
First round, I think 12th or 11th to the Broncos.
Is this guy really 26?
Look
He's
how
not
old
26.
he is.
I'm looking.
He's very old.
Like 30?
For an NFL prospect.
Okay, so he's 25.
Still.
Okay,
25.
he's 25.
When's
his
birthday?
first college year was 2018.
Oh, my goodness.
Lots of injuries.
3 years at Oregon, 3 years at Texas Tech, a year at Louisville. 40th overall pick. Wow.
ESPN said he's had season-ending injuries like the last 3 seasons.
Wow. Okay, I didn't realize that. All right. Well, we'll see. Stay tuned, as they say in the business. We could ask Annie Halpern her thoughts on Shedeur. Although we won't.
That's crazy. Second round pick for this Tyler So kid. Or however I say his last name.
That's how you say it.
Tyler
Show.
Or
Shaw?
Show?
It doesn't matter
How about
what
this?
his name is.
He's older than Trevor Lawrence, who's entering his 5th year in the league.
Wow.
That's like kind of what they've said now about Chad Baker-Mazara in college. He's
like,
older than Luka.
Yeah, he's just like almost 30.
That's great. He's got another year.
He's got a 7-year career in college.
Chad Baker's got another year of college eligibility.
Where is he going to go?
I don't know. He's in the portal though. Somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere probably good. It's a good play.
Yeah.
The Jets pick is in. Do you know what it is?
Oh, let me look.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm sure it's going to show here in a second. Doesn't I don't see what the Jets are doing.
Okay, let's say you drafted him here, Jim. Let's just say they drafted him, but they just signed Justin Fields to a 2-year deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you potentially see him? What, you'd have an opportunity maybe in 2026, or if things go haywire, I guess.
Shedeur's a backup would be funny.
Well, he would be, right?
At this point in time, kind of feels like, unless he goes to the Steelers.
Second round. Yeah, maybe if it's Pittsburgh.
I don't know who the Jets are picking here.
Okay.
It's funny. The Niners owner just tweeted out so many choices. Wonder what we are going to do. #trenches. Okay.
So it's going to be a lineman.
Yes. There's going to be a lineman.
It's Shedeur Sanders after that. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to step aside because coming up on the other side, we're going to
Mason Taylor to the Jets.
That's not Shedeur Sanders.
I don't know who that is from LSU. Is that their tight end?
Who knows? All right. We'll keep you updated. Annie Halpern is going to join us on the other side. She has been at Petco all day reporting on the Padres' health and all these injuries that they are dealing with. So we'll catch up with Annie in the 5 o'clock hour, and then we'll have more reaction to what's going on right now. Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin, where the second round is underway. I've been so naive with this process. I was like, oh, Sanders is definitely getting drafted last night. And then I'm like, oh, he's going 33rd. Someone will either trade up or Cleveland will just take him. I thought he was 33rd.
He's not going here in the second round.
Now we're 10 picks into the second round. We've had multiple trades in the second round. He hasn't been a part of either of them.
He's not going to get picked in the second round.
Okay. Will he get picked in the third?
He's going to get picked sometime.
At some point in this draft, he will get picked. So we'll have updates for you again from Lambeau Field in Green Bay. But again, Annie Halpern will join us on the other side. We still have to get to the wrap at some point in the 5 o'clock hour. We are here until 6. Call right now, by the way, if you want the 4-pack of tickets to see the San Diego Mojo. Third caller is going. This is May 3rd at Viejas Arena. 4 free tickets to see the San Diego Mojo at Viejas Arena May 3rd. This is San Diego's Major League Volleyball team. If you want 4 free tickets, call 877-767-4760. Call right now. 4 free tickets to see the San Diego Mojo May 3rd at Viejas, San Diego's Major League Volleyball team. Just call 877-767-4760. Annie Halpern joins us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Caltrans, cleancalifornia.com. Padres Rays start a 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. News with the Aztecs today. Magoon Gwath, he had surgery on his knee earlier this week. Expected timetable for his return is about 5 to 6 months. Brian Dutcher telling Mark Ziegler that he expects him to be fully ready to go by the start of the basketball season. NBA playoffs, bunch of game 3s tonight underway right now. Magic and Celtics, 9:48 left in the first half. Magic lead the Celtics 35-31. Bucks Pacers tip off moments from now in Milwaukee. And Timberwolves and Lakers tip off at 6:30 p.m. in Minnesota, with that series tied at 1 game apiece. And the NFL draft rounds 2 and 3 is underway right now. Shedeur Sanders has yet to be taken. We're at pick 44. Imagine a photograph of your favorite place in California. Then right in the middle of it, one piece of litter. Litter has no place in our lives, not one piece. Together, let's change that. Clean California, zero litter is the goal. CleanCA.com.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
The latest, according to AJ Preller today, is that Jackson Merrill will not return this homestand. And I don't know what that means for the next road trip either.
I don't know either. I'm sure that with the Padres being at home for the next week, we're gonna get updates from Jackson Merrill. We're gonna see the tweets.
He moved laterally.
He
went at 62% from first to third. His swings have been with veracity.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim for the week. Thankfully, we are going to be joined right now by Annie Halbrin from the UT, who's doing a great job covering the Padres down at Petco Park this afternoon. But the reason we brought you on, Annie, I need you to break down Shedeur Sanders for us. I'm kidding.
It's a lifetime ago right there.
I was just talking to Brent about it. I had no idea he still hasn't been taken.
What's the deal? Are they talking about this at Petco? Like, no, I'm kidding.
I
but
mean,
what's the deal?
Probably they are. You know, I'm honestly surprised. I thought that he'd get taken pretty quick in day 2. You know, but man, that's now. And now, you know what? You know what's hard about now? Every pick, it's like, well, it wasn't Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
You know,
Wasn't Shedeur.
Yeah.
Wasn't Shedeur.
wasn't Shedeur.
Yeah, exactly. All right, back on the Padres train track here. Jackson Merrill got an update today from Mike Schilt on him. What we all thought was maybe a 1 to 2 day, maybe a week thing is now turned into what's looking like a month thing for Jackson Merrill. The latest with him and how much concern is there for this hamstring injury with Merrill at Petco?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in a way, so it's good that him and Lockridge are, doing baseball activities, as they say. They stayed back up from the road trip just to have a plan put together for them to do stuff here. And I talked to Lockridge too today, and, they're progressing, but the stance from the organization, which is understandable, is that it's so easy to go backwards on one of these things. It's very easy to think that you're okay, and then you end up, hurting it more, and then you've got to start from the beginning again. It's one of those injuries that you kind of have to start all over again if something goes wrong, or you pull it again, essentially. So I think that they're being cautious with it. He was out on the field today getting some work in, but Mike Schilt offered that, look, they're going to get some work in over the next few days. And then the next step for them, whether that's next week or the week after, who knows, but maybe next week, is going to Arizona to face some live pitching and to do some live hitting. And so we're a little bit away. Like, I thought that they would just go right into the road trip, or Merrill would go right into the road trip, but it sounds like they're going to get some work in Arizona. Now, could that happen early next week? Like, maybe they could go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or something, and then be ready for the road trip. That's a possibility too, because Schilt did say it's like, they're going to get some work here the next few days, and then maybe then they'd head to Arizona. But it's hard to know exactly where they're at, because the activities that they're doing, it's like, it looks good, but it's not. It's hard to tell, like, is this what you would need them to be doing? They're probably going to need to show that they can start and stop really quickly. They can do some more intensity for Merrill. And man, guys, he just looks like someone ran over his dog. I mean, you can just tell, it's just, he hates not being out there with the guys. And Lockridge was saying today that it was really hard to, like, watch the games on TV. So you can imagine like they're just ready to get back, but got at least a little longer to go for sure.
I wonder too, Annie Howard is with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Like we've done a non-deep dive on Jackson Merrill that includes noticing that he missed time in the minor leagues because of hamstring injuries. So, and according to like transaction reports, maybe you know more, Annie, like he had a wrist and a hamstring in 2022, and then he missed the Texas League playoffs in 2023, and now it's 2025. So like he's had 3 hamstrings in the last 4 years. Is that a factor in this being quote unquote slow played?
I haven't heard that it is, but it is something to note. And I think that as he gets his career continued in the big leagues, that seems like it's something that, whether it's, who knows, I don't know if you're more susceptible or maybe it's just all coincidence, or perhaps there's a different rehab method that he could try or training method that he could try to be. It's hard to say that like those are, whether that's preventable or not, or it's just kind of one of those fluke things that just kind of pops up on you. But we haven't had a chance to talk to him in depth about that. But yeah, I did, that is something to note. And it does seem like they're slow playing it a little bit also for the fact that like they just are afraid that, rushing it back, it could turn into like months then if something goes wrong, that he's out. And so, but it is good to see him out there progressing on the field. I mean, he is doing stuff. They're not like, sometimes it can be a little suspicious when they're like hiding away, like you never see the player, but you do see him and he's out there and he's getting work. And, so I think that they're slow playing it maybe for the reasons that you just mentioned, but also just kind of like it's still pretty early in the season and they're afraid that he'd go down for a lot longer if they rush him too quick.
Well, yeah, because he hates this. He wants to be back on the field as soon as possible. Of course he wants to be out there. He doesn't want to be hiding.
He looks depressed.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, honestly, if it was left up to him, he'd already be out there. And same with Lockridge. Like, they both like thinking that they were going to come back. I'm sure this homestand. So I think it's very hard for them too to be like, just hey, organization just isn't quite ready for us. But in the end, that is maybe the more prudent thing to do and the better thing to do.
So you talked to Luis Ariz down there today. He's on the 7-day IL concussion protocol. Mentioned that he had not a great day yesterday, but he's doing much better today. Is that because of the concussion-like symptoms, or is it like his jaw, or like what was so bad about his day yesterday?
Yeah, good question. And the hard part about something like this is we didn't get a chance to like talk to him in depth. I saw him as I was passing him and we stopped to talk for like a second, and so he is doing better. He said yesterday was really hard. He said he's been sleeping a lot. Just, I think the pounding, it seems like a lot of it, like a headache kind of symptoms. Okay. Mike Schilt mentioned today, grogginess, very tired, lethargic probably. So, kind of those are more, I think, what he's been dealing with. It was good to see him. He went out there. He signed some autographs for fans. He sat with the guys around the batting cage. He did some work with the trainers, like doing some, a little light jogging or whatever those, what does he call them? Like gallops or something, or what did he call them last week? Like,
oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. What was that term? Yeah. He was,
I don't remember.
It was like turnovers. I forget what it was called. It was some term I've never heard.
It's a term I've never heard either.
Yeah.
So, but like light, like a little like lifting your knees and moving along. So I didn't see everything that they did. He might have done more than that. So, so it is again good to see him out there. But that's another one where it's like who knows with that? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to rush that. And if he's feeling still some grogginess, like there's a chance that by the time he's ready to come off the injured list, that he isn't feeling that, and you're like all systems go, but there's a chance that they might want to give him some more time there too, because if doesn't look like he's been hitting, and so you're kind of in the phase where he's doing a little light activity. He said he just started feeling a little better today. So I think it's just kind of coming out of that fog. So I don't know how quickly that happens. I'm sure it's individual for every guy, or how much you want to rush that, so I wish I could give you guys more on that, but like, again, we see him out there and he is hopeful, and it looked like Mike Schilt was kind of hopeful that he'd be back by Tuesday, but there was definitely no guarantees on that.
When you remember that word, please text me. Or if I get it, I'm going to text you. Or if,
I know it's like escaping me right now. It's like, it wasn't like skip. It was
something ridiculous. He used it as if people are supposed to know. Yeah. Say, oh yeah, he's doing Striders. I'm like, no, I've covered baseball my whole life. I've never heard that.
I need someone to write it in the chat or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
that's
like,
what.
yeah, something I've never heard.
Yes.
So when it's gonna bug me though. I'm gonna be trying to sleep tonight and not think about it. So once I get it, I'll let you know.
Annie Halpern with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So we've been spending all this time talking about the injuries. So I guess the question becomes, I mean, is it overcomable, so to speak? They're 3-5 in their last 8. They're home for the next 5 games. This isn't like season-ending stuff, but can they navigate this effectively moving forward?
I think so, as long as it doesn't last too long. Like, you just nailed it. It's not season-ending stuff. They should get some relief from some of these guys coming back in the next week or two. And every time a guy comes back too, it's like a jolt, right? Everybody gets all excited, and you're so happy to have him back in the lineup and in the clubhouse. So that kind of will help some of these guys who are trying to weather the storm right now. As Manny said, you keep the boat afloat. I think it's going to help them, and I say this cautiously, but they did do a good job against the Rockies. So I think it's going to help them against the Rays, who are not exactly like dominating right now. I think they'll be able, with the whole Petco Park magic they're feeling and being 12-1, maybe you can withstand and take 2 out of 3 from the Rays, if not better. And then you got another off day, and then you have 2 against the Giants. And that's going to be, I think, a series that both teams are going to want to win, even though it doesn't make, any real big difference. You've got probably 2 managers that would like to get in the win column on that one. So I'm interested to see, how that goes. But I think that they feel like, at this point, because of the off days, and that they can at least patch it together. And I think they probably kind of can. You know what I mean? Like, if they get a little bit of the Petco Park magic going, and, on the road, I think it can be exhausting anyways to just be on the road and then see all your teammates going down. The hard part is that then you kind of get some of those guys at the top of the lineup pressing, feeling like they need to do more, and then if that's not happening, then it's sort of, it can kind of spiral a little quickly. So I think it's for them, they got to try to keep the more positive vibes going and not try to do too much, but just try to get back to like the Petco Park hitting approach and, not press too much, because you lose a lot of protection too, right? I mean, when you know that you're going from what used to be like a 1 through 6 that was like really tough to get out, and now it's more of like a 1 through 3 or 4, you, as a pitcher, you kind of move a little differently, right? So I think that though with the Rays, hopefully they can kind of weather that. And then with the Giants, 2 games, they've got a good shot there as well. And then by then you should maybe be getting like a guy or 2 back, shortly after that.
Yeah, and thankfully you got 2 more off days here in the next week. That's going to really help things. By the way, thanks to Ben Fadden, it's dribbling, Annie.
Dribbling.
Yeah, dribbling.
I don't know why it's called dribbling, because is that like a ode to basketball? Or I feel like that's like they're sort of like lifting their knees up, and I don't know.
I think he made it up.
Yeah,
it's not high knees, it's like low knees. Yeah, I feel like they just made it up too.
Low knees. Just dribbling.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. It doesn't make any sense, because when you type it up, you're like, I don't know what medical term this is at all, because it doesn't make any sense. But
I've never heard it before in baseball, so I've
heard it.
Yeah, you learn something new every day.
There you go.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. And by the way, a couple of people also that chimed in on social media. And by the way, before you go, Annie, Frank in our chat says, "Can you tell Annie we miss her on San Diego airwaves?" Although you're on San Diego airwaves right now,
like literally right now.
So
I certainly am.
You're missed.
And I appreciate being missed, but happy to be joining Jon and Jim here, and check out the work in the Union Tribune. Just had the Q&A last week with Jose Iglesias, and that's up on the YouTube too. So appreciate everyone and their support always.
Yeah, I'm subscribing to your YouTube channel right now, and our listeners should do the same. Search for Annie Halpern on YouTube. I'm subscribing because I saw you just did a video within the last day or two, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I'm trying to get those going more. And obviously the ones also from Petco Park that I do with players. And,
cool.
I feel very honored about that, because you guys are the YouTube kings.
Oh,
so I feel very honored that I'm getting a a little shout out from you on YouTube.
I mean, it's not exactly Mr. Beast, the work we're doing right now on YouTube. I mean, maybe we're doing all right.
Look,
but
you're doing good. You're doing well for yourselves.
Yeah. By the time the world ends in a billion years, we'll have like 100,000 followers.
No,
not even that.
Maybe
like 20. But we're doing our work.
If you want more of Annie,
it's a grind.
It's a grind.
Yeah.
But if you want,
I wish when like 15 years ago, when I was like, man, I should start a YouTube channel and like really commit to it. I wish I would have done it then. Like I said that about a blog or like whatever, you know. And
I know.
kudos to all the smart people out there, you guys included, who jumped on it a lot quicker than some of us other ones.
Well, listen, there's still time. I will say this, Andy, real quick before you go, seriously, because I listen to a lot of YouTube podcasts. We've made this like a YouTube like segment here. It's never too late to go all in on YouTube.
It never is.
I'm serious with that.
Yeah.
There's someone out there that has not started YouTube that's going to make millions off YouTube.
Oh,
They
yeah.
haven't get started on YouTube.
The way that I've understood it is like you look and you're like, well, who would want yet another channel? But you got to think of it like the world is a very big
It's a big
pie.
place.
And like all you need is a tiny sliver of that pie, like and to talk to, you know?
So start your Shedeur Sanders
like
channel.
Yeah.
Start your Shedeur channel tomorrow. Annie, thank you. We'll do it again soon.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Appreciate all your listeners as well. And have a great Friday and talk to you guys soon.
We appreciate you, Annie. Annie Halpern from the UT and now from YouTube as well. Let's go back out to Lambeau. I mean, we're not going there, but we'll react to what's going on in the second round of the NFL draft where Shedeur Sanders is still on the board waiting to be selected. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday. That includes today with the Bonus Bucks giveaway every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. So coming up in the next 40 minutes, listen for the keyword. Then you can enter it at sportssd.com. Jon and Jim with you, San Diego Sports 760. Padres Rays coming up at 6:40 downtown. NFL draft back underway, round 2, midway through the second round. Shedeur Sanders still waiting to hear his name called.
Raiders just traded back in the draft. Texans just moved up. So not going here. And then you got Cincinnati and Seattle at 50. Seattle has 2 picks, 50 and 53.
At some point, it's going to become too good to pass up.
At some point, teams going to be like, you know what?
The risk, the reward outweighs the risk is coming up.
But maybe that is not in the second round. Because second round picks nowadays, a lot of them have first round grades.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you get, second round picks can still be studs. It's like you look at the top 100 players in the draft. There's a lot.
Yeah. By the way, I'm just fascinated by this, the money of it. If you would have went third to the Giants, $45 million over 4 years. From this point on, he's down to $9 million.
Well,
and it's only going down.
You think he's gonna be fine?
No, I don't think so. I think it's
money.
I don't think so.
It does make it even more awkward knowing that. Remember when he wore those Giants cleats?
No.
Okay.
Giants like New York?
Like the New York Giants, yeah.
Kind of, but not when.
It was, I believe, back during a pregame, one of the college games. Or no, it wasn't. It was, I think it might have been a workout. He was wearing Giants cleats. And that was because he thought he was going to go to the Giants at 3.
I guess he still could, although he'd be like the third quarterback there.
And then he was throwing passes to neighbors in the streets of New York.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh,
it's happening.
It's happening.
I mean, are we at the historic portion, though, of like a slide?
Give me the last player that you can remember, like quarterback that you can remember that had this big of a slide. That was like talked about as being a top maybe 10 pick.
No one? Maybe we'll look up like biggest draft day slides ever. I mean, I can't think of anyone. There have been reasons for guys sliding. Off-field stuff.
Even Johnny Manziel went in the first round. Think about that. Johnny Manziel in the first round. Shedeur Sanders did not. Now, Johnny Manziel was a better college quarterback than Shedeur Sanders ever was.
Right.
But
AI says Aaron Rodgers projected to be a top 3 pick, fell to 24th.
Yeah, but still it's a first round.
AI says Shedeur Sanders was projected to be a top 5 pick, hasn't been selected. So those are a couple. So I don't think you're right. I mean, I don't know how many comps there are with quarterbacks slipping this far from a first round, top of the first round to end of the second round or the third round. I'm sure there are comps. I'm sure there's examples of it, but I don't know how many. I don't know if it's historic or not. It seems like it's kind of historic, truthfully, and doing the quick cursory glance of it.
Well, anyway, it's whatever team he goes to, that all the media attention will be on that team once.
But will it? He's not starting.
Well, maybe if he gets picked 83rd by the Pittsburgh Steelers, then
maybe he will.
Probably will be starting.
So that's the one team
that I can think of. Who's the quarterback for? Oh, Sam Darnold. He's not going to Seattle.
Right. Good point.
I just remembered that.
I mean, unless he's projected to be a guy that can be developed. I mean, he's not old,
So you got Pittsburgh
with a quarterback need.
The Raiders keep trading down, so it's like they're not taking. If they wanted to take him, they would take him.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if he's there in the third round for the Raiders, if the Raiders have a third round pick,
right,
then that's a possibility. But those are the two teams, Raiders. But even then, they got Geno Smith, so Sanders isn't going to be starting right away.
I wonder if he would start it right away anywhere at this point.
The only place that I feel like he would start right away is Pittsburgh.
I don't know, though. It's Pittsburgh, man. I mean, the expectation there is to win right away.
I know it is.
Like, they win every single year. So maybe
Jets with Justin Fields. Could he beat out Justin Fields in camp? Probably not.
2-year, $30 million deal, maybe. That's probably more likely year 2 than year 1. Or if things go haywire in year 1, yes.
Well, it's good. As Ian Rappaport said to start the night, if The Raiders did not select him at early on in the second round.
Yeah, what did he then say?
Get ready for a long wait for Shedeur.
Long wait, like third round or even longer?
Who knows?
He can't possibly slide past tonight.
Who knows?
Will Brinson, I'm like, he's going the first round, right? I say, well,
Saints was the team that if, all right, Saints and Steelers, those are the two teams. Steelers didn't take him in the first round. Obviously, Saints didn't take him in the first round. And then Saints in the second round, they had it already, and they go quarterback. They go for the 45-year-old QB that went to 7 different schools in his college
who's
career.
never played more than 7 games in a season because of injury.
Right.
How about that? Never
Wow.
played more than 7 games in a year.
Chris Winkie Jr.
Yeah. What do you got, bro?
Seattle maybe at 50, but after Seattle at 50,
Well, Seattle has Sam Darnold, so they're not going to take. I don't think they're going to take him.
Well, are you really that sold on Sam Darnold though?
Signed to a long-term deal.
Oh, pretty good year.
Well, they did that one other time, and then they took Russell Wilson. So Raiders pick again at 58.
All right,
and that's pretty much his last shot, barring trade.
All right, stay tuned. We'll keep you updated on the other side. We haven't gotten to the wrap. We can do that. Why don't we do that on the other side here until 6, Jon and Jim?
All right, this update is brought to you by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Padres and Rays start a 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. NFL Draft Day 2 underway. Shedeur Sanders still not drafted. We are at pick 50 with the Seattle Seahawks. An NBA playoff action. A bunch of game threes happening tonight. We're at the half between the Magic and Celtics. Celtics lead the Magic 59-49. Bucks Pacers is underway. Bucks lead the Pacers 21-19 with 4 minutes left to go in the first quarter there. And Lakers Timberwolves, game 3 tips off at 6:30. That series tied at 1 game apiece in Minnesota. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. And the news of the day with the Aztecs, Magoon Gwath, he had knee surgery. The expected timetable for his absence will be about 5 to 6 months. Need help fast. Anderson's same-day guarantee clears clocks pronto. Nobody wows clients like they do. Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air has served over 500,000 residential clients for more than 45 years. Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. That's AndersonPHA.com.
It's basically impossible not to see the irony when Cam Ward last night tweets out, "Forever humble, because I know what it's like to be at the bottom. 0-star recruit, 2 years FCS at a school you've never heard of, incarnate word." And then there's Shedeur, who is still on the board at 51 now. The Panthers selecting at 51 overall. And we have no idea how this ends up or where he ends up or what he looks like as a professional. It could be good, bad, or somewhere in between. But it's kind of remarkable how this has played out. From Cam Ward, who I don't think was expected to be the first overall pick as recently as 1 year ago when he went to Miami. And Shedeur Sanders, who I think for the last year we were told might be the first overall pick. And there he is, still waiting for that call in the middle of day 2. So it's kind of fascinating how this has all played out over the last 48 hours.
Good point here by Damon Bruce in the Bay Area. And essentially he said, this is the first day of Shedeur Sanders' life where he has officially been humbled. Like, he has been, I'm not saying given everything to him, and he's worked his ass off to get to where he's at, but there's nothing like a draft slide that will humble you like it is right now. This is, the first day of his life that his dad's not calling all the shots and putting him in all these positions and getting his number retired and all this other stuff, right? He is on his own.
The real world.
What
and everyone else deals with by and large.
In the NFL world, not the actual world.
In the actual world. You know what I mean? Because everyone listening to us has had to do it themselves by and large.
Yeah.
Sometimes your dad helps you out.
Yeah.
Hey, you're out of college. Hey, you need a job. You can work for me.
Yeah.
But eventually, like, you got to leave the nest.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you're right. That is kind of a rude introduction.
It's something that I'm not going to say you wanted Bronny to go through, but a lot of people probably wanted Bronny to go through. And I think Bronny in the NBA doing what he's doing in the G League, he's been great in the G League this year, but like, we know he was given that draft spot and it was a 2nd round pick, and the NBA doesn't have 7 rounds, right? Just two. And again, that whole situation with Bronny,
there are similarities and differences.
There are.
They're not the same, but I can see the media attention is I guess comparable.
Yeah, it's not like Dion's also playing in the league, right?
True.
Even if Dion was in the league somehow and Shedeur was a prospect, guess what? That NFL team is not going to bow down to a player on their team to draft their son like the Lakers did with Bronny.
Yeah, these are different. I mean, they're different, but again, the media attention they have received, I guess there are some similarities there, and we just wait, and we'll see how much longer we wait. Brent, can we get to want to get to the wrap?
Let's get to
so we have Jim's back page coming up in about 10 minutes.
It's time for the wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Will Shedeur Sanders be drafted tonight?
Yes, because there's a 3rd round, right? Yeah. So since there's a 3rd round, I think he's going to get drafted in the 3rd round. By who? I don't know. I'll say the Steelers at 83.
I'm now tending to agree with what you're saying that it won't be in the 2nd round. I still will stick with before 83, but it does appear the 2nd round is becoming increasingly unlikely. I'll say before 83, and he will be drafted tonight. Otherwise, I don't know what happens next. Next question.
Is tomorrow a must-win game for San Diego FC?
Well, as Mikey Varas, the STFC head coach, said yesterday with us, you want to protect home field. You want to create this almost fortress-like atmosphere at Snapdragon Stadium. They, so far, undefeated at home this season. You want to keep it that way. And with 5 of their next 6 matches being at home, you want to rack up at minimum 10 points because that's what they got in their first 4 matches at home. No, they got 8, right? So,
they've had 8 points in 4 matches.
8 points in 4 matches. So, yeah, minimum, I would say, between 8 and 10 points at home in their next 5.
Which means, okay, of course it's not a must-win, but you certainly need results in these 5 matches. Like, you need a point or more, right? You don't have to win all 5. That's 15 points. That's going to be hard to do.
You can't get 10 points in 5 matches at home because...
Yes, you can.
Oh, wait, you can?
Sure, you could win 3 and tie 1.
Oh, that's right. I'm an idiot.
Remember my first time on
I don't know math.
It's not a must-win, but you're going to need points to pile up at home because the way they finish, if you look at their schedule, the way they finish, they play a lot on the road late in the year. So this is the time to take advantage of playing at home. Next question.
What impact will Magoon Gwath's surgery have on the Aztecs?
Hopefully none. Hopefully none, because if there is impact, then that's probably at the start of the season, obviously, a couple games here and there. But, like, if he's expected to be ready to go by the start of the season, then I would expect him to be ready to go at the start of the season, unless there is some type of hiccup or, setback. But I don't envision that. I don't hope that, obviously. So I'm going to say it doesn't have any impact.
I'm hopeful with you. I'm expecting it not to have an impact. This prognosis hopefully is, well before the start of the season, he's back and close to fully healthy. They have time. He's already had this surgery. It happened earlier in the week. There's over 6 months until the start of next season. So I'm optimistic it doesn't have any impact on them next year. Next question.
Who wins tonight's game 3 between the Lakers and the Timberwolves?
I'm going to take Minnesota tonight.
Minnesota at home.
I'm going to take Minnesota at home.
I will agree with you and take Minnesota at home. I'm assuming Minnesota's a decent favorite tonight, 3-4 points. That's my assumption.
They are a 3.5 point favorite.
I should do it for a living.
Good job.
Handicap. I like Minnesota at home. And then the Lakers will, maybe they'll rebound in game 4.
I still think the Lakers are going to win the series.
Yeah, I know you've said that.
But yeah, I don't envision it being Lakers clean sweep the rest of the way, like lose game 1 and then win 4 in a row.
I'd like to see this thing go 7.
I would too. The issue with game 2 for me, if I'm a Laker fan, is that you had an opportunity to really
blow the doors off,
blow them out of the building, and it was a 9-point game. I know it was mostly like a 15-20 point game the whole entire way, and then Lakers couldn't hit a shot. Their life depended on it. And they won by
9.
They won by 9.
Yeah.
I 94-85. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see. Like, they only scored 13 points in the fourth quarter of game 2. They were outscored 20-13 in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
They were obviously outscored in the second half, 42-36. Again, having a big lead as they did,
still worked out.
But still, it was didn't need to be that stressful after the blitz they put on them to start the game.
Here's my guess: they get one of the next 2, and it's more likely the Lakers get game 4 than game 3. That's how this always plays out. The teams heading home that are even. You're playing in front of that home crowd. You're feeding off that. That's why they're favored. We'll see what it looks like tonight, and then what happens in game 4. I still agree with you that the Lakers are in fine shape. It's not perfect, but I still think they're in fine shape heading into game 3 tonight. You can hear it, by the way, at 6:30 on San Diego Sports 760. Pregame coverage will begin at 6:15. Where are we in the draft, Jim?
We were at pick 53, John.
Okay, so 53 picks in, which means we're only about 10 picks away from the 3rd round.
Which Shedeur Sanders
will probably
go in.
This night goes quicker.
I love it.
Right? It's good.
I love the quick.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Pick up the pace.
And then tomorrow they go through 4 rounds in one day.
And that's where they don't even show the picks. They're just in commercial break. And it said,
it's just on the bottom.
This player is picked. Once
Yeah.
we get to like the 5th and 6th, 7th rounds, it's just like picks in, done.
Isn't
Picks
that how
in,
like
done.
Brady
Picks
was
in, done.
drafted or Purdy? Not Purdy because he's Mr. Irrelevant, right?
It was how Brady was drafted.
Yeah, it was how Brady. Yeah.
Like maybe they talk about players for like
It's like one
30
guy.
seconds.
Well, they'll find the one guy like, oh, remember the Texas quarterback, and then they'll talk about him.
Right. Now, whenever Shedeur's picked, they'll glaze on him for like 5 minutes.
Oh, they'll speak on him for 12 minutes.
I mean, all they've been doing. I mean, Mel Kiper, maybe it's time to retire, bud, because
Why? Because he had him as his like number 3 overall player.
Yeah, and it's been the best available player for Mel Kiper for the last
40 picks.
50 picks almost.
Yeah, probably 50.
Like,
yeah, is he really the best available if the teams aren't selecting him?
Exactly.
No, it's not possible.
There's something there.
Yeah, it's not possible. There's been 3 quarterbacks that have been drafted.
There's something there, and I think it has to do between the ears. I think it has to do with an attitude. I think it has to do with things that don't show up on the tape that teams are scared of. And I also do think if you put on the tape with him as well, if you listen to guys like Greg Cosell, they will also tell you there are very concerning things on the tape as well with him. Now, I think, and you mentioned this, like if you had the Cam Ward mentality,
Of
right?
like I'm ready to learn. I want to soak everything in.
Yeah.
I'm humbled by this opportunity.
Yeah, not recreating, draft rooms and wearing chains that are bigger than like my arm. I know it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, but some teams actually it does matter to them because they don't want your quarterback to be of that mindset.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So
maybe the Packers will take him and then he'll like crowd surf through the crowd.
Yeah,
even though he's not
perfect.
there, all the way to the back. Can you imagine that?
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. And then they can play 2 quarterbacks.
Perfect.
Right?
2 quarterback system.
2 quarterback system.
I like it.
It'll be like Aaron Rodgers all over again when they
Right.
drafted Jordan Love when they didn't need him.
Exactly right. All right, Jim's back page coming up next. All right, hey guys, it is us again, Jon and Jim for the all-new Humul Casino and Resort, the Players Place. Make sure to get there this upcoming Monday night because every single Monday in April, including this upcoming Monday, you've got a chance to win big. 10 winners every hour, 7, 8, 9. Your odds better than ever. Earn entries all month. Get 2 times the entries on Wednesdays with at least $500 cash for all winners and a chance to win up to $25,000. It's a promotion you're not going to want to miss.
And join Humul Casino for Sunset Trivia at Loft 94 every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. and compete for prizes at your favorite casino. Plus, enjoy 50% off classic sushi, nigiri, hand rolls, and any of their featured ramen bowls every Tuesday through Thursday. Now through May 23rd, exclusions do apply.
This weekend, catch all the action at Tony Gwynn's Sports Pub. It's the ultimate sports showdown. Padres, NBA playoffs live, savory bites, all available at Tony Gwynn Sports Pub, where fandom meets fantastic. The all-new Humul Casino and Resort, the Players Place. All right, final time for Jon and Jim this week. You can join us tonight, wrap-up show, Padres and Rays. Game 1 coming up in 1 hour from Petco Park downtown. First of 3, Jim. No Merrill.
No Cronenworth.
No Arise.
No Lockridge.
No Hayward.
No Yu Darvish.
No Brian Hoeing. I win. You could say
no
Sean
Reynolds.
He's rehabbing. No Campy. That's okay.
I lost.
They have Michael King. So
they have Tyler
Wade. And we'll see if they can take game 1 tonight. Shedeur Sanders hasn't been drafted, has not. And
what if he doesn't get drafted?
We're up to pick 56. And it's Chicago's pick right now. Anyway, we'll keep watching the draft and we can get to this.
The San Diego County Fair, John. You live right next to it.
By it. Who's coming?
The theme of this year.
Fun in the sun.
Nope.
Little carnival by the surf.
Nope.
LeBron's legacy.
Right.
Nope. Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, exactly.
Will Sanders get picked? I could let you keep guessing.
Oh, America's Finest Carnival.
Nope. No. That's a good one. But that's
fair.
Not, no.
What is it?
That's a good one. Summer Pet-tacular.
I don't get it.
The San Diego Humane Society is partnering with the fair to provide attendees with pet-related activities, exhibits, entertainment, and programming.
I like that.
Quote, this is a unique opportunity to connect with the community in a fun and meaningful way while also raising awareness about animal welfare and the life-saving work we do every day. We can't wait to share our mission with fairgoers and inspire even more compassion for animals across San Diego. I am all for a pet-tacular fair theme this year.
When's the last time you've been to the fair?
Ooh, it's been a couple years.
Have you been since pandemic?
No.
Dude, they pack them in.
Oh, I know they do.
That thing is unbelievable how many people go to that.
I've been to multiple fairs.
Yeah.
It's kind of like once you go to one fair, you've been to them all.
Kinda.
Don't get me wrong. They're fun.
If you have kids.
If you have kids, they're a blast.
You have kids?
No, I don't.
Okay.
You have kids?
I do.
Oh, nice.
One.
What kind of deep fried foods are they going to have this year?
I don't know yet, Brent.
Yeah.
They don't have that there. They just have the theme of the fair, and then of course things that they will have at the fair, like they have a what's it called? The wiener dog and corgi races. They also have pet related contests. They have a pet-tacular pooch fun run. So fairgoers can take their dogs for a morning walk at the Del Mar Fairgrounds.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Other things as well. The Kobe Bryant rookie jersey from his first game officially sold. They had one bid on it, John.
One bid was $7 million.
And that was the only bid.
Oh, I would have bid like $150.
The Kobe Bryant NBA debut jersey sold for $7 million, making it the second highest price paid for an NBA jersey. The catch is no one else bid on it.
Right. Yeah, but that's okay. You only need one bidder.
Sold for officially $7,004,000.
Wow.
If you're that one guy, are you kind of pissed? You're like, man, I could have just.
Well, it wasn't a guy.
Like,
it was like a corporation.
Oh,
yeah.
but still, you could have been like, oh,
I could have got it for $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I went
bidder.
Aim too high, too
well,
early.
it carried a pre-sale estimate of $10 million. So
you probably the minimum bid was probably like $6 million.
I think it was minimum 5.
Okay, well maybe you should have bid 5.
Maybe. Anyway, so that sold for $7 million there. And finally, McDonald's, John, is going to bring back chicken strips after a 5-year hiatus. McDonald's announced that chicken strips will return to its menu after 5 years, beginning on May 5th. McCrispy strips are breaded tenders made with an all-white meat chicken. Will debut on menus nationwide with a new sauce, a creamy chili dip. Will also be available for the chicken strips, John. I know you're excited.
Well, nothing says Cinco de Mayo like re-unveiling the chicken strips, right?
You're absolutely right about that. Yes.
Seth Rollins is making the Bears pick right now, Jim.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what, did Shedeur get picked?
No,
I saw that.
not as of yet.
Anyway, it says the demand for chicken strips has been remarkable to see across the industry. So we knew we had to deliver something craveable that is well worth the wait.
Okay. I don't know. Like, have you been waiting?
I'm perfectly fine with chicken nuggies.
There's got to be some math to how these fast food chains roll out these reintroductory items.
Of course there is.
It's very scientific.
People are sending emails like, we demand the chicken strips to return.
I mean, yeah, probably someone, but not like millions of people.
Right. It's not a bunch of people. And they're like, oh, we've gotten 30,000 emails today demanding the chicken strips return.
We got to do it, guys.
No, it's a promotion thing. They do this. They're like, all right, we need to up our sales a little bit, create, some buzz, and we're just going to throw out a new menu item for limited time. So then people come to McDonald's and then they see, oh, maybe I also want like a McDouble, or I want a Big Mac. So they get a Big Mac with the chicken strips. Or if they don't get chicken strips, they get something else.
Can you imagine running McDonald's operation?
Just you should have just stopped it running. Because
I can't see you running.
Because I don't like running.
Imagine like having 50,000 franchises and sending out the email like, all right, guys, here's the deal.
We got chicken
you're
strips
going out to like tens of thousands of restaurants. I just can't even imagine what that's like to run McDonald's.
Well,
we should run a McDonald's.
I want to run a McDonald's.
Well, we could run one here in San
Diego.
Do
you want to run one with me?
I would do it.
Being a vegan?
Yeah, they have options, right?
Yeah, like fish fillets.
Right.
That's French fries.
Yeah.
They got McFlurries.
Did they get rid of the whole breakfast menu or the coffee menu?
No, they didn't get rid of the breakfast menu.
Okay, good. I need to do more fast food, but just like side items. Like go there for coffee. Go there for salad.
Yeah, it's called Starbucks.
That's the problem. I know. That's the thing. It's so much easier just
You're not beating Starbucks.
No, you're right. You're right. Are you excited about WWF, like having a show here in the draft?
No,
you must be.
It's whatever.
All right. So we went 2 full days of Jon and Jim, and Shedeur Sanders didn't get drafted. Ozzie Trapillo, D tackle for Boston College.
What was your favorite moment of Ozzie Trapillo's year last year? What stood out to you the most? What kind of intangibles
I'll tell you
does he
what,
have?
the way he gets off the line.
Yeah, he's got a really good. He had a really good shuttle.
Yeah, I know Bill O'Brien was really pleased with the way he came around.
40 was great.
All right, we will see you tonight on YouTube wrap-up show with me and Jim. Padres and Rays coming up at 6:40. Michael King on the mound. We'll see if the Padres can take game 1 of that series, get back to the winning ways. They're trying to get back to 10 games over 500 tonight down at Petco Park. If you missed anything, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. All right, we are back on Monday at 2 p.m. Great job, everyone. Marshall, Brent, for Jim, I'm Jon. Keep it here. Lakers basketball at 6:15. This is San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.